Today, childhood dreams come true and the professional journey begins. Today, Charlotte FC are dreaming of their very first opening day. The Queen City will carry the expansion banner for 2022. They hold today's top selection. Meanwhile, the best college soccer players in the country await their professional fates. Will their name be called? Will their dreams become reality? What city, what colors will they call their own? Is there a Daryl Dike in this draft class, a Tajon Buchanan or a Miles Robinson perhaps? 28 clubs have done their due diligence. Now it's time to put the scouting to the test. The MLS SuperDraft 2022 presented by Adidas is 30 minutes away and the clock is ticking. Welcome to the proverbial opening bell of the MLS season. I'm Andrew Wiebe along with Michael Ahoud and Devin Kerr, a couple of Chivas USA legends and college soccer experts and MLS insiders. We will get you ready for the Super Draft over the next half hour with help from our friends scattered around the country. Today's a big day, Michael. It's an emotional day for these players, their families, the coaches that have supported them, their teammates that have helped them get to this point. You've been there before. You're a first-round draft pick. Tell me what it was like a decade ago leading up to this moment and what it felt like when your name was called.
In the span of a few weeks, my life was changed forever. It started with the College Cup, which was my final game for Wake Forest University. And when I came home, I received one of the best Christmas gifts to date, an MLS contract. Just when I thought it couldn't get better, I was invited to the MLS Combine. I put in a good performance, some might say great, and it allowed me for my draft stock to get higher. And when I got to St. Louis, where the MLS draft was, that's when the real emotions hit. You're a roller coaster of emotions away from hearing your name announced. And when Commissioner Garber called my name, relief is what I felt.
Oh, what a wonderful moment. What a wonderful moment for all these kids, Devin.
I look at the sporting side of it, actually, especially because of all the news that's come out recently, right? So it's Daryl Dike, it's Tajon Buchanan, one of my personal favorites, a Wake guy, Alistair Johnston, right, who's just a blip on this radar a couple years ago. Now, starting outside back Canadian men's national team can move into a 3-system, a 4-system, and $1 million in general allocation money. I'm sure Nashville and Montreal would say, yes, this matters.
How much does it matter? You mentioned it. It's the values, whether it be internationally or domestically. So many players in the modern era of the Super Draft, the TAM era, have made huge impacts. Speaking of impacts, though, the MLS offseason is off and running. Did you miss it? How could you? Charlotte FC starting to build their first roster, expansion drafts, signings coming into the Queen City. We'll see more today from Charlotte FC. Of course, we've seen some big sales around Major League Soccer. The most recent, 7 figures. Richie Larea to Nottingham Forest. He's one of those Canadian starters out of the Super Draft. Tajon Buchanan, same deal. On to the Champions League. UEFA, that is. He's going to Club Brugge for $7 million after a wonderful season for the New England Revolution. You know the name. You know the face. You know the goals. Daryl Dike, $9.5 million headed to the championship and West Brom. And it's Pepe's world, and we are just living in it. FC Dallas selling the young star, the homegrown star, to Augsburg. That is the story of the offseason, I think, Michael. It is about these player sales, these young players taking a big step, and the MLS teams reaping the benefits.
Major League Soccer has always valued young talent. And what I love about this is these are players that are coming from different ecosystems within the league. And now the world's game and World Clubs International Soccer is valuing these players as well.
We're missing someone there.
Yeah, what is it? There's a name here.
Oh, that's right, Lorenzo Insigne. Shocking. I mean, you could make the argument one of the biggest names to ever come into the MLS market, right? 30 years of age, in his prime, still dominating left and right. The question marks were there for Toronto FC. What did they do? They get Bob Bradley, steps up, knocks it out of the park. I mean, the guy is ready to roll 7 months off a European championship with an opportunity to go to the World Cup running with Italy.
Is it summer yet? It feels like summer outside the studios here in Florida. And one of the best things about being here is that I'm with a good friend of mine, Susanna Collins. Susanna, how are you doing? It's wonderful to see you.
Oh, it's wonderful to see you, Andrew. And this is one of my favorite days of the year because, as you guys said, this is a chance to see dreams realized for the players, but also for the families, the friends, the coaches, everybody close to the players as well. To give you an idea, of the reach that a day like today has. We had a chance to catch up with Ben Bender, who is a top prospect out of Maryland, and he said one of the best phone calls that he got this week was from a coach that he had when he was just a kid, who was so excited, taking so much pride in his role in getting Ben to where he is today. And really, that is what it's all about, a celebration of all the hard work from the player and certainly all the sacrifices, the help and support from the family, the friends, the coaches that have gotten them to this point today, Andrew.
Oh, yeah. We'll be back with you. Susanna Collins talked to President of TFC, Bill Manning. We'll get to that interview in just a little bit. But first, the Super Draft coming up very, very shortly. We've got the pregame show to get you ready. But 3 p.m. Eastern is when those draft picks start to be announced. And today is a big day for Charlotte FC. They got the #1 pick, and I'm wondering, could they keep that pick in state? The folks in Durham are wondering that, too. That's where David Goss is, embedded with the Duke Blue Devils.
That's right, Andrew. I went back to college, and the Mike Krzyzewski Athletic Center here, the energy is palpable. With team success comes individual accolades. The Blue Devils qualified for the ACC title game for the first time this year since 2006, and now have 3 players on tap to be drafted today. The headliner, of course, the Generation Adidas signing. The #2 goal scorer in the nation, Thor Ulfarsen. Ulfarsen is the first generation Adidas signing out of Duke in 10 years since Andrew Wenger. And Thor, not just looking to find out what his city will be and what his next club will be, looking to make history for the tiny soccer island of Iceland. When Thor gets drafted this afternoon, he will be the first Icelandic player drafted in MLS SuperDraft history. Now let's go to the club side with Jillian Sakovits in Cincinnati.
FC Cincinnati enters today's draft with 2 first-round picks, and they enter 2022 with mounting pressures for a team that has gotten so much right, a brand new state-of-the-art stadium, an avid fan base, and deep roots here in the community. They have yet to get the product on the field right. Since joining Major League Soccer in 2019, FC Cincinnati has yet to string together anything close to a winning season, and that has a regime change here in Cincinnati as they look to a new season. A brand new general manager in Chris Albright, a new head coach in Pat Noonan and his staff, and a flurry of player acquisitions. And as of this morning, a vacancy in the role of team president. The common denominator here, though, despite all of these changes, is that the fan base has been patient and they deserve more. Now I send it to Steely Godwin in Connecticut.
There are 8 members in this year's Generation Adidas class, and one of those is here in Greenwich, Connecticut, a speedy forward by the name of Oseni Buda. Now, like many of these prospects, this dream began when he was just a little kid. But for Oseni, that dream began in West Africa and carried him thousands of miles away to the United States. It's a journey that is marked by a lot of sacrifice, but it is one that leaves him full of gratitude. And coming up, we're going to be catching up with the Stanford standout as he carries his Burkina Faso boots to the next stop on this 6,000-mile journey. But for now, the festivities, they begin in Charlotte. Katie Witham is standing by with more from the Queen City on the expansion excitement.
It is a big day here in Charlotte, and I am honored to be joined now by Sporting Director Zorn Cronetta. I know this is the day you've been waiting for. What should we expect to see from Charlotte today?
I think we'll be very active. I think we've done a lot of work. We've done a lot of preparation, and so today is going to be a day where we actually pick our first draft pick. So we are all excited.
You mentioned work. It's been a lot of work, but the work doesn't end today. What other moves can Charlotte fans be watching for in the coming weeks?
Not at all. The work doesn't end here. Definitely, that's for sure. We are active. We are working very hard. I think our fans should expect some DP players, some very attractive players. We're looking at the strikers, wingers. Everybody knows our roster is almost done. Our spine is good, so we're looking very good. We're very positive.
It's hard to believe in about 6 weeks you're going to head to DC United for your season opener on the road. What kind of product do you want to see on the field come that first match?
Oh my God, is it already time? We are super excited. From the day one, we said we want to put on field a very competitive team. A team of winners, team of that will never give up, that will be proud to wear the Charlotte FC shirt and to be pride of our fans in North and South Carolina. So this is the team that we're going to field.
We are so excited. Thank you for the time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we're just about 20 minutes away now from their first pick and the 2022 MLS SuperDraft.
Oh, clock is ticking for Charlotte FC. Big decision to make for them. Here's their roster so far, Devin. You heard there from Zoran. The big question mark, DPs, striker, and wingers. I got question marks in my depth chart right now, man. That's a place to address, no doubt about it.
No doubt about it. You have to give them credit for the work that they've done on the spine, right? But that's the elephant in the room, right? Let's look at the DP. Let's look at the strikers up top. They've got those spots. You're starting to hit the point of no return. Everybody's getting antsy. Maybe they're pulling the string a little bit for an attacking striker domestically, but I still look at a DP and look at a guy up top who can make some noise.
I'd like to see domestic talent and the domestic influence into an expansion team. We've seen teams, Inter Miami want the international flavor. Domestic talent, that has been the backbone of successful MLS teams. Free agency, you can tap into that, and also the MLS SuperDraft.
There are a lot of ways to do this. We've seen that over the years. Nashville SC, the most recent example of a success story. Look what they've done. But by the way, that number 10, Hani Mukhtar, DP signing in year one. Took him a year to settle. Then he was a difference maker. Let's take a look now at the SuperDraft order for today's 2022 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas. Number 1, Charlotte FC, the expansion team, gets first pick. Cincinnati there. FC Dallas traded for the 3 spot with Toronto. Dynamo, Austin on through the top 10. It's a day of decisions, I think, for all these teams. Do they keep their pick? Do they trade their pick? We know there are discussions going on in real time, and they may be talking about Oseni Buda, one of the best stories in this SuperDraft.
Ferrai Mutatsu, mefiri Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. I think playing soccer as a kid in Burkina Faso, just like a lot of countries in West Africa that I know of, it's a very unique and very different experience. Kids just play soccer anywhere on the street, and that's where they develop all their skills, and that's what I did as well.
Quand il était petit, il regardait bien à l'école. Je n'étais pas content qu'il joue au ballon. Mais l'enfant a mis du sérieux avec le ballon. C'est son père et sa mère et sa grand-mère qui l'aidaient.
When I was about 11 years old, the Right Dream Academy from Ghana came over to Burkina and they scouted me. They organized a trial at my local pitch. So, and it was a day when I had school, actually. So I had to go to school and then basically walk out of class.
Que cette année est je sais pas comment, une année importante pour lui. Donc le mieux c'est de prier pour qu'il puisse être sélectionné.
Le jour du test, je ne savais pas. Il était sorti pour aller à l'école. Sortant de l'école, il a feinté le cours, aller passer le test. Je ne savais pas. Quand je suis seulement, il est venu le soir me dire, lui il est passer le test. Mais il a dit. En allant au Ghana, on a fait l'enquête pour savoir si la classe est normale, si c'est bien. On est allé, son oncle est allé regarder, c'était bon. On était content.
It's kind of ironic that I had to walk out of class and then ended up going to the best school in the U.S.
Again, Oseni Buda on the ball, confident. Quick little turn, gets the shot up, and it's another goal and a break.
It's a dream come true. I've always wanted to be a professional soccer player. I feel like MLS is basically the American dream for players like me.
From the day he walked in the house, he was just like any other kid, you know. So a great soccer player, but still had to tell him to get his feet off the couch and put his dishes in the sink and all that kind of stuff.
Wherever I go, I'll be happy, excited, and try to make the best out of the opportunity.
I hope you guys saw those custom boots here that Oseni has on his feet. It's a nice touch on draft day, Oseni, and a club is going to find out how special that touch is coming up here in a few. We won't know who that is just yet, but can you tell me what type of player they're going to be getting in you?
I think they're going to be getting a player who can create a lot of chances up top, score some goals, get a lot of assists, and a good guy in the locker room and someone who is willing to work really hard and adapt and help the team win some games and go forward.
Now, one thing that we heard in that feature there is the word opportunity, and opportunity has not been lost on you. Being able to go to the Right to Dream Academy, come to the U.S., play for Millbrook, play for Stanford. But this is way bigger than that. For you and your dreams, it's about giving back. Can you describe that perspective on why this is bigger than you?
Yeah, becoming a professional soccer player just gives me a bigger platform to impact the lives of other people, especially back home as well. As I hope that from now on I can do really well and become an inspiration to a lot of kids who play soccer all around the world and especially back home.
I know a lot of people back home are looking up at that board of names at the Right to Dream Academy, and your name is going to be one that they're going to be looking up to and inspired as well. You're here with your sisters, Elisa, as well. I know that's a very special moment for you, and you'll be talking to your mom later today. But good luck. We wish you the best. We're excited to see where you go.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, a special story that is. Oseni Buda out of Stanford. We'll see where he's taken, perhaps even the #1 overall pick. Got a little bit of an Akron story from back in the day with St. Louis. 3-generation Adidas players there, as well as you heard from Dave, Ulfarsen out of Duke, Centeno out of Pacific, Celentano out of Indiana, and Binder out of Maryland. Tell us about Buda, Michael. What do you see from him on the field, as well as what he can bring off?
Whoever drafts Buda is not just getting a good person, they're getting a very good player. He's the most talented player in this draft class, simply put. He can beat you 1v1 on the dribble, very dynamic player. But what I like about him is when he gets to the end line, he can mix it up. He'll look to service, not only just to go to goal.
How about the St. Louis University boys, right? It's got to be highlighted, the fact that there's a possibility of 4 of them going in the first round, Generation Adidas or not. Kevin Kalish doing a great job there. Kip Keller, that's my #1 out of that class. Center back, natural player that's still got the ability to have that attacking prowess. Former #6, actually turned center back by Anthony Pulis, former Inter Miami guy. Decision-making, great. Height, physical attributes, things that you can't teach, right? And of course, if you're a team hanging around the draft, it never hurts when you have good domestic goalkeepers. Roman Celentano, Indiana, Todd Yeagley. Maybe you've heard of that place?
We have heard of that. We've also seen the impact the Generation Adidas players have made on MLS in recent years. You mentioned those goalkeepers, though. Life's a little bit different as a goalkeeper. You know what they call it. It's the goalkeeper union.
My name is Roman Celentano. I'm from Naperville, Illinois. I wasn't a big high recruit out of high school. I was kind of always playing behind a national team kid growing up in academy, and I had a couple offers from some smaller schools in the Chicago area, but I had a chance to pretty much walk on at Indiana, and I was like, you know what, I have this opportunity, I'm going to take it.
My name is Patrick Schulte, and I'm from St. Charles, Missouri. I feel like my size and my presence in the net, either that's making the goal small or coming out and claiming crosses, that's like, right up there with my shot stopping ability. No matter where you go, it's always a tight-knit group, and we're always working on our own, so I feel like we just have to be close. People say we're different in the mind, but, we all click together, so that's just us in general.
You want the best for your mate in goal, but obviously you want to play, so it's a great environment where you're pushing your friend every day, but it's the hard part of the position, the double-edged sword, where you want your mate to perform, but if you're behind him, it's like the only way you get in is something bad happens, so you're hoping for the best, but there's not many opportunities for the 2 and the 3. It's the GK union. We always spend a lot of time together in the small group of goalkeepers. We start the sessions normally together, spending a lot of time doing video and stuff together as a unit, so that time together away from the team kind of builds a brotherhood, like an us mentality.
Where will Schulte and Celentano go? We will find out today, but we know there is a rich history of goalkeepers taken in the SuperDraft that made huge impacts on Major League Soccer. What about that MLS Cup MVP, Sean Johnson? You know who's seen them all, though? Armchair analyst Matt Doyle. He has more on how goalkeepers have impacted MLS out of the SuperDraft.
The bulk of the greatest, most accomplished goalkeepers in MLS history, from Nick Raimondo to our most recent MLS Cup winner, Sean Johnson, followed the same path. College to the SuperDraft to MLS. 5 of the last 6 MLS Cup winners have keepers that played some college soccer. The past 10 Supporter Shield winners, all of them had keepers who played college soccer. The correlation between being a winning team and having a goalkeeper who played in college is getting stronger, even as the league itself has become more global and multicultural. Since before MLS even existed, college soccer has produced a lot of good goalkeepers. It's just the nature of the position. So maybe you'll find the next Andre Blake or Steph Fry in this year's version of the SuperDraft, or maybe the next Matt Turner or Tim Melia, and this time someone smart enough to pick them. What we can say with a fair degree of certainty, though, is that a couple of the keepers picked today will win a lot of games in MLS over the next 15 years. It's happened before, repeatedly. It's about
Talk
to
about
happen
difference
again.
makers. Some of them lifting MLS Cups as well. And this goes for a lot of different teams. Matt Turner didn't even get taken in the SuperDraft. He's arguably the #1 for the U.S. men's national team. A lot of clubs out there looking for a diamond in the rough. Maybe they will find it, and maybe they'll find it from the island of Hawaii. Not a traditional hotspot, but this year, some names that could be taken in the first round.
My name is Laukoa Kioki Kole Kaumaka Ikalani Kiekie Santos.
Isai Easley, Kailua Kona, Hawaii.
You know, Mom was always at work. The field was right behind the house. Always saw guys running around over there and joined them one day. That's all she wrote from there.
My dad was the coach. Put me in rec soccer. No one knew anything about soccer. Maybe 8 or 9, I did a soccer camp in Oahu, another island, and Brian Ching was there, and he's kind of like the idol in a way.
I used to go back and do a soccer camp there every year while I was playing, and I thought it was really important for the kids that are growing up to see that somebody from a small island, a small community, could actually make it on the big stage, and I think it gave a lot of kids hope.
I think the biggest thing in Hawaii is the soccer players think they're so behind.
You know, you play the same team 8 times, you know, in 3 weeks, you know, it's just like kind of exhausting at times.
Kids don't understand that they actually tend to work a little harder in Hawaii, and so they work on their technical skills because there's not as many good players to play against.
I just wanted the mainland to see what I could do, you know, and I was always working twice as hard on the island, and when I got the chance to go on the mainland, I really knew how much sacrifice was going into it, so I played just that much harder.
We'd play inter-island games, so tournaments inter-island. We'd play the tournaments on the mainland, and that's kind of how we'd get scouted.
I started playing with East Island, I was about like 11 or 12. Easily we were the best 2 on the field every training.
We played on the same club team, and then growing up we went to different high schools, played against each other in high school, and played in different club teams, and yeah, then went to college, and now we're back here.
You look at kind of the history of the soccer players out of Hawaii, you know, you haven't had too many. I think it's fantastic that there are a couple of kids in the draft that are potentially going to get drafted, and I think that, you know, only shows the growth of soccer in Hawaii.
The more guys that come back with knowledge, the better.
Providing the funds and the resources, and maybe adding fields, because like I said, we only have 1 field growing up. So it's just kind of the resources and giving the kids a platform to play on, you know, and grow.
I'm excited to see what the future of Hawaiian soccer looks like.
Right now, I am joined by the president and GM of the Seattle Sounders, Garth Lagerwey. And Garth, the Seattle Sounders have a special connection to soccer in Hawaii. What can you tell us about it?
Look, we have been really fortunate to have strong ties to Hawaii for a long time. 2 famous players that most of the folks listening to this will probably know, Brian Ching and Zach Scott. They played for the Sounders, and they're both from Hawaii. So going back a long time, and these are obviously major players that Brian went on to start for other teams in MLS, but he played first for the minor league Sounders. And Zach Scott was among those guys voted to the all-time Sounders team when we did that list, I think, a couple of years ago. So some really, really good guys that have always come from Hawaii in that pipeline. And then more recently, we had Shannon Hopiau, who was on with our group yesterday. And I'm pleased to announce that we have signed Dylan Tevez. So we have our newest Hawaiian joining the Sounders for the 2022 season.
Breaking news right here on MLSsoccer.com. We love it. That's wonderful news. Speaking of signings, there are some rumors surrounding the Seattle Sounders right now about some more potential big signings. What updates can you give us, Garth?
You know, I'm sure you were probably thinking of Will Bruin, right? And, you know, I'm pleased to say that not just Will, but, you know, Alex Roldan, we're having good conversations, and hopefully we have something positive to report. No, look, the internet does what the internet does, and there's lots of speculation out there. And, you know, I would say that the free agency process has certainly been an interesting one for us. We've lost some guys. We've brought back a guy in Steph Cleveland. But the big name that's out there, Albert Rusnak, you know, we've had conversations with Albert, you know, but no resolution as yet. And obviously the free agency means that Albert's still free to do whatever he would like. But It would be great if he chose the Sounders. That would be really cool, and I think it would make our team better.
We have the 20th pick in today's draft. That's the highest Seattle will have picked since 2015 when you drafted Christian Roldan, a guy who has had an incredible impact on the Seattle Sounders. What's the key to finding a player like that in the draft, Garth?
Well, in that case, Suzanne, it involves the GM. At that time, we were still in person, right? And, I've been mocked for years for this, but I was literally running table to table once Roldan slipped past like the third or fourth pick. Because I had just started with the Sounders. I'd literally been on the job for I think 2 days, and making deals, making offers, and then eventually got to Salt Lake at pick 16, and obviously some friendly faces across the way there because I had just left Salt Lake, a couple weeks before that. And we were able to figure out a deal.
Goes to. We'll see what happens with that one, but everybody watching around Major League Soccer to see what happens. We know the Sounders have also done a really good job bringing players up through the academy, through the professional pathway. Michael, you were at Combine with these prospective draft picks. MLS Next Pro.
They're not always ready to go right away. And so giving them that opportunity to step in and say, listen, we believe in you, but we're going to start here and then work your way in. And now all of a sudden, they're starting and representing the Stars and Stripes.
How many be? Well, we're going to have to wait to find out. But we know that we're about to learn the destinations. The MLS SuperDraft 2022 presented by Adidas coming up here in
starting outside back. So there are project players, a ton sprinkled around this draft that guys have taken a long, hard look at and saying, this doesn't just fit in this spot. It fits all over. It fits our culture.
Staff in MLS, well, they are on the phone and they're checking out their big boards, trying to determine whether their scouting is spot on, whether their final decisions are there. We'll be back in a second with the MLS SuperDraft 2022 presented by Adidas.
Chance, flag stays down, and Daryl Dike imprints his name on an international score sheet.
There are different paths to success in this sport, and like many before them, today will be the next step toward success for the
San Jose, Inter Miami, and the Rapids will bring you all 28 picks in the MLS SuperDraft 2022 presented by Adidas in the first round. All right, guys, we're here. It is about to begin. Let's catch people up who may have not been here for that we can get drafted, their reaction. Let's go out to Durham, North Carolina right now to David Goss, who's with the Duke Blue Devils.
Yeah, Andrew, a ton of energy here in the building as we're waiting for these draft picks. And Aaron Johansson, we've got Ian Murphy here, a U.S. Youth National Team player, over 50 starts over the past 4 years in his college soccer career, a veteran along the back. And then we've got the up-and-coming goalkeeper, Elliot Hamill, who at this time of year...
All right, to Sealy Goodwin we go, up the coast in Connecticut. She's with Oseni Buddha.
We are here on Connecticut's Gold Coast. We're one of the drafts. Talk first. Could they be in the market for a winger? We'll send it to Katie Witham with more from the Queen City.
It's an exciting day. Busy is an understatement. I don't think that this Charlotte front office, Celtic FC, I can confirm that no deal has been done as of right now. But yesterday, defender Christian McCoon was sent from Inter Miami. That makes 4 central defenders now here on Charlotte FC's roster. Our focus has really been on today, and today has been a long time coming for Charlotte FC. In fact, it started 4 months ago with a specialized team put together looking at all these players available in the draft. The plan today to...
Chris, your first draft as general manager of FC Cincinnati. What are you hoping to accomplish here today?
Well, we're looking to get good value. Obviously with the second pick, it's an important pick. Looking to add depth.
Season, what can fans expect from this team this year?
I think to see the beginnings of an identity, to see how we want to play stylistically, to understand that there's going to be accountability on the field and off the field, and fans can recognize and identify with.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, a new regime in Cincinnati, some big-time changes around the league in front offices and via managers. But, guys, we'll have a lot to say just yet. As is tradition, however, one man will get the party started. That is Commissioner Don Garber for his customary opening remarks.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the 2022 Major League Soccer SuperDraft presented by Adidas. And once again, we're doing our draft remotely. You know, it was a month ago today when we concluded the 2021 MLS season with New City FC winning their first MLS Cup, a game that took place in Portland. And as we begin 2022, it's an exciting time for all of us that are involved in our sport, who are involved in the league. Opportunity, particularly for you, future MLS stars. The SuperDraft kicks off our 27th season, a year that will see the debut of our newest expansion team in Charlotte. Charlotte have two new soccer stadiums opening, one in Nashville that will open up in May, and then in St. Louis later in the year. And Nashville will be our largest soccer stadium, 30,000 seats, and we could not be more excited about the opening of that new building. In order to accommodate the World Cup, as you know, we will have the earliest MLS start in the history of our league, with our opening day on February 20th. National teams all around the globe, especially on the U.S. and Canadian national team rosters. In fact, we'll anticipate many players who were selected in previous Super Drafts to be on World Cup rosters competing in Qatar. We're only 11 days into January. We've seen so many activities with players coming into our league, and today's Super Draft continues to play a very important role in building our rosters for all of our teams league-wide. The MLS SuperDraft is the start of a very new chapter for so many young men as they pursue their dream of playing the game professionally. And for all those players selected, this will be a day that you and your families will never forget. So congratulations to all of you that worked so hard to earn this opportunity to become a professional soccer player. And I look forward to seeing all of you develop and succeed in our league or in the MLS Next Pro in the coming years. And with that, I'd like to get us started and announce that Charlotte FC, you, for the first time, are now on the clock.
Thank you, Commissioner Garber, for saying the magic words. Charlotte FC, you are on the clock. 2 minutes, 52 seconds, and counting to make the first selection in team history. If you're watching the pregame show out there, you got the tease from sporting director Zoran Cornetta. We know there's going to be a super draft pick in just a couple minutes here, Devin, but we don't know who the DPs on this roster are going to be. That could be the ultimate difference maker. What do you make of where they stand right now?
I'm not upset if I'm a fan because you heard some of his comments. If you didn't go check them out, because he did address it. That's the most important thing. The question is going to be how long, right? Because he talked about the spine where you get Kalina and Cisniega in goal to help yourself out. That's great. Christian Fuchs, Premier League player 6 years ago on the back line. Fantastic there. How about Jordi Reyna? Great career within MLS so far. Get him back on track. Look at the midfield. Sergio Ruiz, Alan Franco. It's all been well and done. But at some point in time, you need someone up top leading the line, right? And the DP spots, like you're itching, you're asking for it. Go make a big name, make a massive splash, and get this train rolling.
They have 5 slots open. That's a lot between 3 DPs and 2 U22 initiative players. They've already hit one with Vinicius Melo, but now they need to make a splash. The good thing is they have an owner who's willing to spend. And for Charlotte and Charlotte FC fans, don't overlook the draft as well. The draft is where you can buy depth and you can get it at a reasonable price.
All right, give me an idea as we look forward. I don't want to play the prediction game all day because we know how that goes. I've done these super drafts before. But I want the people to have an idea. Who has the talent? Who has the ability? Who has the projection? Give me a name or two, Devin, starting with you.
I talked about Kip Keller earlier from St. Louis University because he has intangibles that you can't teach. Right, you can't teach the physical presence, the ability to just understand the game. He's got a great mentality playing off the back line. You could question a couple things, sure, but some of the decision-making at the collegiate level, you can't pinpoint on one player, right? Just like at the pro level because there's so many moving pieces.
I'm hearing we're getting close to a pick. One name and that's it. Who could it be?
Thor Ulfarsen.
Okay.
Second leading goal scorer in the country, and the variety of ways he scores goals. He's a guy that could not just be an impact player in the
starting lineup. All right, I got to cut you off. We got to go out for this draft pick. Out to Katie with me, go in Charlotte for the #1 overall selection.
All right, Zoran, it's the time we've all been waiting for.
And to make selection for Charlotte FC, first have a super draft selection. Let's welcome a champion many of you in Carolinas would know very well.
In the 2022 MLS SuperDraft, presented by Adidas, Charlotte FC selects from the University of Maryland and Generation Adidas, Ben Bender.
big the reaction at home. All the club jerseys from his career for Ben Bender, the Maryland sophomore from Baltimore. He's 20. He'll turn 21 in March. He's all Big Ten for 2 years with the Terps. Devin, what do you see in Ben Bender? Why was this the pick?
I'm going to use the words from Sasha Swarovski, the great manager of Maryland, and that he checks all the boxes, right? So he's got the game, he's got the mind, the mentality. He actually started as an 11 in his career, and then they dropped him into the 10 spot. So he's seen a lot on the front line, and as a youngster, too. You question a little bit on the physical side of things, but if you take a look at when he came into school, it's dealing with the pandemic. Then it's the compressed season, 20 games this fall. He can't control that, right? So the fact that you're arguing age and something he couldn't control is a fantastic thing for a pick like Ben Bender, who's a beautiful attacking talent.
You can't coach goal-scoring midfielders, and that's what he brings to the table. What I like about him most is his ability to run off the ball, make the third man run. A lot of his goals at the University of Maryland came because of that. If Charlotte get a target striker, then a kid like Ben Bender can run off of him and be a force to be reckoned with.
Sergio Ruiz, you have Alan Franco. Hegart came in as a homegrown from Seattle. Bender now in the midfield. Riley McGree, a big question mark for them right now. Rumors are he could be sold to Celtic. Zoran said he likes the spine. What do you see in that midfield right now, Devin?
Well, you just added a great attacking piece in Bender, right? And I think that all of them working off each other is a great thing. You look at their coach, Miguel Angel Ramirez, and the fact that that was their guy to begin with, right? Zoran actually said he wasn't on the initial list because they didn't think they could get him. So you go out and get your coach. You've started to assemble the players that they called the nucleus, right? Now you got a young attacking talent. So you feel like the pedigree's already there and you can help him. When you get a player like Ben Bender, you know that he's going to be game-changing. We understand the talent, right? But you have to nurture that to another level. And it's not just MLS Next Pro. That's the guys within that locker room every single day. Sasha Swarovski said that this guy was like the Kevin De Bruyne of college soccer. Now, he wanted to be careful here.
Right.
He's not referencing the talent level, but that's the type of player, right? It's that 40-yard ball pinged along the ground when everybody expecting the 2-yard right next to it and just ushering along. He's special. And those special plays are the reason he goes number one and the reason that he could turn some heads in Charlotte right away.
All right, Susanna Collins is standing by with none other than Ben Bender. Let's hear what the number one overall pick has to say.
Well, Ben, congratulations. The first pick of the 2022 MLS SuperDraft. You are going to Charlotte FC. You said that it was a dream of yours growing up to go to MLS, and here you are today. Can you just describe what this moment feels like for you?
Oh, shoot.
Come on over, Ben.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Yeah, of course. How do you feel right now? You are the number one pick in the 2022 MLS SuperDraft. What is this moment like?
It's amazing. I've heard the fans are just itching to see some down in Charlotte. Actually played for the Independent, and he's told me a lot about the city and how it's new, and it's a really awesome. I'm just can't wait to get started, and I know that the football down there is going to be a good brand, and I know that they're a good win. So I just want to be a part of that.
Well, I see you celebrating there with your family. You've got the jerseys up from all of your former teams. How special is this to be surrounded by the people that you love the most to celebrate this moment?
It's so special. I'm so close with all of them. It's just a dream come true. Finally be able to play in the MLS. And I can't thank my older brothers and my dad enough because they really pushed me to get better every day, and it's such a amazing journey. So I'm so thankful for them.
Well, Ben, congratulations. Go celebrate with your family.
Thank you.
Oh, wonderful moment there. You got to love the big brother in the background. No, and he beat up on his younger brother and got him here to number one, throwing that fist pump in the air. Like, yeah, I put you in the grass a couple times. Now FC Cincinnati are on the clock. The pick is in according to the screen, but let's give an idea here of what we're looking at in Cincinnati right now. What have they done so far, Michael? You're so inside this club from your history with them.
FC Cincinnati, and especially Cincinnati fans, are looking for something to go. FC Cincy, here we go. They're on pins and needles, and I see the back line or goalkeeping needing to be addressed. They've given up a ton of goals. They broke the record and threatened to smash it last year with 74 and 75 goals, respectively. But there's a new regime in town. Chris Albright and Pat Noonan will be looking to shore up that back line.
And if they can do it like Philly did, Devin, that's pretty good for Cincinnati.
Well, they're going to set that tone, right? So Chris Albright says that we need domestic MLS experience as a coach, and that's non-negotiable. So you go get Pat Noonan. I'm high on both of these guys, right? Pat Noonan is now coming over. You would think that it's going to be that young Philly, quick transitions, vertical style threat. You would think. Things haven't exactly gone to plan in Cincinnati, and they've gotten everything right off the field and the beautiful new stadium. And now you need to go get a player that says, this is what we're about, because we're time to get it right on the field, right? We're ready to do this now. Identifying talent and building a team are two totally different things. That's the challenge to build a team. That's from Chris Albright. He's got his opportunity right now.
And the building process continues right now. The number 2 overall pick in the Super Draft is in. Let's go to Jillian in Cincinnati.
I'm honored to be joined by Chris Albright. Chris, now your first pick as general manager of this club. Take it away.
With the second pick in the 2022 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas, FC Cincinnati selects from Indiana University and Generation Adidas, Roman Celentano.
Moment for Roman Celentano with all his teammates behind. He's got the balloons, he's got the hat, he's got the scarf. He was, for you, Devin, absolutely the best goalkeeper on the board.
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons for that. The physical side, I mentioned that for Kip Keller coming in. Same thing for a goalkeeper. That big, powerful presence within a box that just takes over. And then the intangibles that need to come. The leadership aspect side of that. He developed that over his time at Indiana. I actually said that from Todd Yeagley, Christian Lamelli was instrumental because when he came in, he was 3rd in the depth chart alongside a guy by the name of Trey Muse. And they said, who do you feel like is the best for you guys right now? They pointed to Muse because of the leadership side. So he sits down, puts in the video prep, and works himself into a Generation Adidas contract at one of the best soccer universities around the country. This kid can play. You can't teach some of the things that he's capable of.
A year ago, he was a national runner-up with IU, and now he's a professional soccer player. It's amazing the growth of some of these players and what the difference a year makes. And for him, his shot-stopping ability, he had, I think it was 1 week where he made save of the week, where he's had 4 saves off the goal line. And that's something you can't teach. So congratulations to him and his family. This is a big moment.
All right, let's go back to Cincinnati. Pat Noonan, the newest head coach there, is standing by with Jill.
Pat, your first pick, the second pick overall just came in. A goalkeeper. Why?
An area of need. He provides good depth. He's going to come in with good character, good upside. We've seen and heard a lot about him in the previous months, and he's going to be a nice piece to this team.
Will be interesting to see Roman Celentano here in Cincinnati. Let's talk a little bit about the new regime. We just spoke to Chris Albright. Speaking to you now, what can fans expect in year 4 from FC Cincinnati?
Well, the hope is that they're going to see a team on the field that they can identify with, that shows that we're going to be aggressive and forward-thinking, and we're going to make them proud in ways where there's future success, but understanding the process and the pieces that we're trying to get in place, to play a certain way.
Pat, you were a super draft pick yourself. Can you talk about your own emotions when you go back to being selected 9th overall by the New England Revolution back in 2003?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Your thoughts are everywhere. I was, a kid from St. Louis, went to Indiana, and I'm going to a big city of Boston. And so the goal is, as a young player, to go in and earn the respect of your coaches and your teammates. And that's what we expect for all of these picks that, we'll bring into FC Cincinnati.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
All right, the clock counting down here on FC Dallas with the 3rd overall pick. Picked this one up from Toronto FC in the days leading up to the draft. $50K in GAM, and Dom Dwyer, who they immediately bought out. So far, Ben Binder, a GA, and Roman Celentano, also Generation Adidas, off the board. It's been a big offseason in Dallas, though, Michael. Ricardo Pepi gone, a new head coach, Nico Estevez, coming over from the U.S. national team. What do you expect from Dallas in 2022?
I expect them to be even more focused on playing young players. For a super draft pick, that bodes well for you because you're playing for a coach who's been used to playing with having youth players in, but now you have to put it together. I look at some of the available picks. A lot of the attacking players still on the board, especially GA and players in the draft, are still available. Look for Dallas to make a splash in this draft.
He's obviously got the experience with Columbus Crew and United States men's national team with Greg Berhalter, so we get an idea of what that could be. But the youth side of it is an interesting one, right? For Philadelphia and FC Dallas argue this every single year, who the best academy is. You lose your striker and your talisman, Ricardo Pepi. What's next there? Right? Who steps up in the 9? I look at that spot. Jesus Ferreira, obviously quality, but that's not your out-and-out goal scorer. The depth at the youth ranks, although very good within the academy, is usually behind the ball right now. They've got goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders coming up through the ranks. They don't have a true number 9. So that makes me look a little bit on the attacking side of the ball going, Buda's right there, right? The youngster in Isaiah Reed. Again, the entire draft has plenty of attacking options, and they're looking for one.
All right, we will see who they select. We're going out to Frisco right now to see who FC Dallas has selected with the number 3 overall pick.
To MLS SuperDraft, presented by Adidas. FC Dallas select from St. Louis University, Isaiah Parker.
Isaiah Parker, he's finding out. There's a celebration. Yes, the fist pumps. Let's go, says the fam. St. Louis scarf down. FC Dallas scarf over. That's got to be a fun moment for Isaiah Parker. A young winger, maybe converted to outside back here, Michael, but to go to a club like FC Dallas that has shown such an ability to develop and nurture young players.
I think it's his versatility that helps him out here. He can play as a left winger, score goals, but he can also play as an outside back. FC Dallas do not have enough depth at outside back. They played Ematumasi at right back, typically a winger, now converted right back. Look for Isaiah Parker to come in and compete right away.
One-of-a-kind type player, right? A guy that is a true game changer. No fear at all. I think the biggest thing about this kid is, yes, he's probably greener than everybody else on the attacking side within this draft. But within that, you get to mold a little bit more, right? So is it at the outside back spot? Possibly. On the front line, everybody at college soccer took a look at this kid and went, watch out, because he was that good. Springing into the final third, getting to the end line, challenging people in one-on-one situations. We talk about intangibles that you can't teach. Fear is something that you can't take or instill in a player. This kid doesn't have any. He will run at you at any point in time.
Absolutely. 3 goals, 7 assists in one season at St. Louis. The first of 3 SLU generation Adidas players off the board. But Susanna Collins is going to bring us live with our second overall pick, Roman Celentano of FC Cincinnati.
All right, Roman Celentano from Naperville, Illinois to Indiana University and now FC Cincinnati. Welcome to MLS. How does this moment feel?
Oh, I'm overjoyed. It's always been a lifelong dream, like many people said, make it to the MLS. But when you actually make it there, hear your name in the draft, it's something different. And right now, I'm overjoyed. I'm really proud of myself. And also, thank you. I'm thankful for all my teammates, and all my coaches, and all the people that have made this dream happen for me. From Brett Hall at Rivers in Chicago to Tom Smith at goalkeeping, everyone's really done their part and made me where I am.
Well, speaking of coaches, one of your coaches said that one of your biggest assets was patience, that you take it one day at a time. How has that helped you get to this point here today?
But I'm from the start though. I've been very excited to start MLS, and I'm very excited to start Cincinnati.
Roman, congratulations! Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Roman Celentano, absolutely a standout goalkeeper. We'll see what he does with FC Cincinnati. Let's talk a little Houston Dynamo, though. So as we saw Nico Estevez make the pick, the new head coach for FC Dallas, there's a new head coach in Houston, one both of you know particularly well, Paulo Nagamura, Pat Onstad's first big hire there. Tell me what they're getting in Paulo, Michael. What do you see in this new head coach in the league?
When I came into the league, Paulo, the first thing I noticed about him, he's a warrior, has a winning mentality. How that translates as a coach, we will see. The one thing about him is he will demand that the Houston players work, which is something we haven't seen consistently from the Dynamo teams of the recent past.
This is a three-headed monster, though, remember, because Siegel, new owner, Pat Onstead, Paulo Nagamura, so all three are stepping in here now. And what is that pick going to look like? What is the play going to look like? Because Nagamura at Sporting Kansas City under Peter Vermees, he's pretty much mirroring what's going on there, but he's got the experience with a lot of youth players, right? Does he bring that 4-3-3 style system with him? What happens to the roster? They made the playoffs one time since 2014. That's obviously a concern. There was a quote from Siegel that I really took to heart about what this could look like going forward. And here's what he said, because he talked about spending, right? And his quote was, I think we all recognize that our current spend is at or near the bottom of the league. This is in September. That's just not where it should be for a city as large as we have in Houston and our aspirations for what this club can be. And so, without getting into specifics, it'll be materially higher and soon. Now's that time, right? Nagamura comes in. Not a lot of roster movement so far. Haven't even heard a lot of chatter of him with the players so far. Go get a draft pick. Have some fun with it, right? And say, listen, maybe we haven't made those many moves right here. But right now, right here, we like this kid, and he'll be part of the faces moving forward.
Number 4 overall draft pick. If you look back at those Dynamo teams of the past, the Dom Kinnear teams that went to championships, a lot of flavor out of the Super Draft. And speaking of rumors from Club Libertad, this is what we're hearing. This is what the chatter is. Nothing official here, though. Sebastian Ferreira, young forward out of Libertad, is a rumor out of the Paraguay club for the Houston Dynamo. We'll see what they do there. As we wait for Houston at number 4, let's just recap for those of you who might have just joined. Ben Binder, number 1 to Charlotte FC, Generation Adidas. Roman Celentano, 2 to Cincinnati. And Dallas, Isaiah Parker, another GA. Will another Generation Adidas player come off the board? We are about to find out in Houston. Let's see who the number 4 overall draft pick is from the Dynamo.
With the 4th pick in the 2022 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas, Houston Dynamo FC selects from Duke University and Generation Adidas Thor Ulfarsen.
Oh, 4 straight GA picks off the top. That might tell you something about how teams consider the salary cap ramifications. Out of Duke University, Thor Ulfarsen. Goals, 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 Devin. That's what this guy is all about.
True, number 9. Run at you, right? Think old school English attackers like an Emil Heskey who can get that hold-up play for you. You can play off down into the channel. But more importantly, he'll spin off you and run right down the channel. That's the best thing about Thor Ulfarsen. I talked about the confidence out of Isaiah in St. Louis University. Thor's the same thing, right? And more importantly, he had to be the guy. Because when you're the number 1 attacking option and everything's on your shoulder, plenty of men have tried and crumbled. He rose to the occasion, tickling the nylon time and time again, banging the back of the net. Great pick.
With the departure of Maxi Urruti, Houston Dynamo had to go and get an attacking player. Maxi Urruti wasn't the Maxi Urruti of the last couple seasons in MLS, but here's the benefit of the draft. You can depend on a young player like Thor Ulfarsen. The thing I like about him the most is his attitude. He has that tenacity in the final third, and he has a hunger. He doesn't care how he gets his goals. He wants to score.
He has an edge, you might say. You saw it in his face, I think. You saw it in that interaction in the College Cup with UCLA as Duke took a lead late on, and he let UCLA know about it. As Austin FC go on the clock, and we wait to see who they might have selected, what comes next for this Houston Dynamo team in terms of results and expectations? You read that quote from Ted Siegel, and I understand they want to spend more. I think they will spend more. That's what Pat Onstead told us on Extra Time earlier this year. But what is reasonable in 2022 for Dynamo fans?
I'll combine it with another quote. Nagamura said that he wanted to get in touch and get this team back to the culture of what it was. What is that culture? He wants to spend 2 DP slots open. You've just gone and gotten a forward, so you've said, okay, we want to get an attacking player in here. We know that Nagamura loves the ball, wants to play with it, not just obviously what we saw as a player, but in Sporting Kansas City, taking care of all of those players. Ariel Lassiter gone, Urruti to Austin, Christian Ramirez midseason. You've lost all those attacking players, so you've made a statement with one. Continue to do that. I expect them on the ball a lot, trying to knock it as much as possible.
All right, as we wait for Austin to make their pick, let's send it out to Durham, where David Goss is standing by with Thor Ulfarsen.
Thanks so much, Andrew. Thor, let's start with this. This is an intense day. You're here with your teammates, your coaches. What does it mean? What are the emotions?
I'm just so excited to join this club, and just wanted to thank my family, my friends, coaches, staff, players, everyone that's been a part of my journey. And it's been hard work, but it's finally paying off, and just ready to go to work again.
They talked about your goal scoring, what you can bring to this team. It's like 105 degrees in Houston on an average day. You're from Iceland. You ready to do your thing there?
Yeah, of course. It doesn't matter. Wherever, I'll do my thing.
Congratulations. Enjoy. Back to you guys.
It doesn't matter. I'll do my thing. Ice, heat, whatever. I'm a man of goals, and I will get them no matter how it has to be done. All right, let's talk Austin. Seems to me we got somebody who's an expert here, Michael. What's this offseason been like? What are they building toward?
The Verde and Black 2022 is the year of redemption on the field for the Verde and Black. 2021 expansion year was birthing pains and growing pains a bit. The back line is what they need to address. Matt Beasler retired, unexpected, and they were thin at times. Injury problems came back to hurt them, but this is a year they need to revamp, and I'll look at the center back position in particular.
What's always nice is when you get your analysts to agree, right? That's not an easy thing
I don't like
to
that,
do.
actually. I want back and forth.
Right? No, I'm with you. Depth is a huge one, right? If you look at the way that the season went, and you saw it all year long, you start slow, 2-5-4 in the first 11. Basically went 500, 4-5 in the final 9 games. But that says something to me. One, you're willing to go after a match, that you turned the corner and you started to play. Two, you couldn't exactly attack all of them because you didn't have the depth. That's not a quality thing within the 11. Alex Ring, love him. Give him all day long. Drusy up top, right? Like, these guys can combine together, even with the departure of Pochettino on loan. Do you have to fill that spot? Of course you do. But the back line, the depth, too many talented defenders within this draft to not go after something like that.
With the likes of Claudio Reyna and Josh Wolf, both college players at one point, they believe in this draft, and they've shown it. Last year they selected Danny Pereira, who was the best player in the country, most talented player.
Had to take him.
And we see the impact that he made, immediate impact being in the lineup. So look for them to pick a player who can come in and at least compete, if not contribute right away.
Also understand that you only have one left back on the roster right now with Kolmanich, right? Everybody else that you've brought in, Ethan Finley, Max Arudi, everybody is up top on the field. So that does, you could think that you're leaning another direction here from a defensive standpoint. But again, I think people from an Austin standpoint may look and be less hopeful about this pick. I disagree 100%. I think this is a great opportunity, and for a team that got better as the year went on, right? This team didn't fall flat on its face. You can't build that chemistry. This team did build the chemistry, and they did build those morals and values that you're looking for. It's the stepping stone that you're ready to take in Season 2.
Well, Season 1 was a stepping stone. Now I got to see where Season 2 goes as well. Danny Pereira said, look, getting drafted was a dream, and now we find out who Austin takes with the 5th pick. To Texas we go.
For my count. 5, 4, 3.
With the 5th pick in the in the 2022 MLS SuperDraft, presented by Adidas, Austin FC selects from St. Louis University and Generation Adidas, Kip Keller.
Oh, Kip Keller. You love the alliteration, and I know these guys love the game. St. Louis. Man, a lot of fist pumps going down today. The emotions are running.
Austin has selected Kip Keller. Dallas is on the clock.
Kip Keller. Hugs going all around. Big-time center back prospect. A lot of people thought he might go number 1 overall, Michael, but he falls to number 5. This is what Austin needed. They needed a young center back, and you know his cap hit is just right. It'll be off it.
Kip Keller is a beast. For starters, he's just physically imposing. His decision-making is something that can get better. But what I like about him the most, he's a team player, and he makes those around him better. Josh Wolf and his staff, they can teach him the tactics and the ins and outs of discipline in the back line, but look for him to bring something that Austin FC didn't have last year, which is physicality in the back line.
Leader, energy, always encouraging, always clapping, pushing his teammates to the next level. Distribution off the back line, pretty good. There have been some questions about some of his decisions, and I would say that those moments were more inside the box early on in his career. He's really cleaned that up as time has gone on, so he's going to be that guy that can break away and win those one-on-one battles down into the channel. That physical presence you talk about also has blazing speed when you move into the final third. So those 9s that we're talking about running through the Generation Adidas guys and the veterans within MLS, he's going to be ready for that, right? He understands what this game is about, and he's only gotten better as years have ticked off.
And speed. You talked about speed. Speed was an area of concern for Austin FC last year. Getting a player who can cover ground and clean up fires with just that, and also set pieces. The Verde and Black, they were aching and itching for a set piece target. Because of his height, he's an imposing figure in the air as well.
3 goals, I believe, for St. Louis. He got those moments and he took advantage.
He gets up there. The predetermination can also be an interesting thing, where he's the guy that he can do everything. But it's one of those things that I say that just because you can ping a 40-yard ball and put it on someone's chest across the field doesn't mean that you have to. And the youth soccer landscape, you want to talk about Scott Gallagher and what these kids have done? Listen to this team. Kip Keller, Josh Sargent, Jack Lynn, Daniel Muni, Logan Poncho, Aiden Stanley, AJ Palazzolo. I think the kids are all right.
We're going to hear another one of those names called today, I expect. St. Louis University's Kip Keller coming off the board with the 5th overall pick. If you're just now catching up or you're not paying attention, haven't figured this out, we have got a trend going right now. Generation Adidas at 1, Ben Bender to Charlotte. Generation Adidas at 2, Roman Celentano to Cincinnati. GA at 3, Isaiah Parker to Dallas, who are now on the clock at 6. Thor Ulfarsen at 4 to Houston. Again, another Generation Adidas, and then Generation again at Kip Keller at number 5. Team saying, look, talent, youth, as well as cap hit matter to us. As we look for FC Dallas to make their pick very, very soon, I asked it about Houston. I think it's fair to ask it about Austin as well. What is reasonable to expect in 2022 from this team, Michael?
I expect them to be a playoff team. They have the attacking pieces now, especially at the striker position. They were desperate for a striker. They got Moussa Jite, which helped a bit, but now you have competition up top with Maxi Urruti, a proven MLS goal scorer. But ultimately, you can't give up goals. Some of the goals they gave up, Brad Stuver could only do so much. Brad Stuver also an MLS draft alumni, but you can't put it all on Brad Stuver. He needs help from his back line.
Yeah, you've got a bunch of other super draft picks in there, and Lima, and of course you saw Beasler go, but they got another one in. Pereira, who we just saw make that draft pick. Who excites you on Austin as we look forward to 2022? When we think about watching, enjoying these games, seeing difference makers, who is that difference maker? Who holds the responsibility in your opinion?
No one's listening, right? Because these are the ones where the guys text you and go, come on, man, how didn't you say my name? I mentioned him earlier because I feel that he's a glue piece. It's Alex Ring. I'm sorry, it's the guy who does everything on and off the field, right? Like, he's good for the community. He's a locker room type guy. You know what that's like. Getting people to rally around you when things aren't going your way, right? When push comes to shove, you can still be the guy that said, listen, we got this. That chemistry that they built as the season went on. Now they're starting to build depth. You need that player who's going to say, guys, calm down. All right, boys, let's pick it up. Alex Ring always excites me.
All right, Alex Ring, what a player. Driussi is the one I'm going to raise my hand on and say, I like to see that guy play as much as possible. FC Dallas are on the clock right now as we await this pick. Just a reminder, Isaiah Parker, the GA, picked the number 3, and the pick is in. Number 6, to Frisco we go.
Ready to cue?
3, 2, 1, cue. With the 6th pick in the 2022 Super Draft, presented by Adidas, FC Dallas select from St. John's University, Lucas Bartlett.
Lucas Bartlett is the choice here, domestic center back out of St. John's University. You see the MLS Next club associated there, Sporting Kansas City. Center back for Dallas. They've got a good history in this department. I remember covering one, Matt Hedges, long ago. He is now the captain and bedrock of this team. They're going for something else. What do you see in this guy?
FC Dallas have tried an international approach to the center back position for someone to partner Matt Hedges. Matt Hedges was out of favor before halfway through the season, but he played himself back in contention. Bartlett can learn from a player like Matt Hedges, Open Cup champion. There's a lot to gain from getting a young player like that.
Get him into the system, see what he can become. One thing that Lucas Bartlett has had to deal with, every player in this draft, every one of you out there, is an ongoing pandemic. Here's how some of these super draft availables experienced it.
We're going to begin here with the outbreak of a mystery virus in China that now has the World Health Organization on edge.
News tonight, the coronavirus forcing millions more Americans into virtual lockdown.
This morning, every major sports league in the country is calling a timeout. NCAA announcing no more winter or spring seasons.
Here in the news, we're in the locker room. We just play pit, in the spring. And
I just remember everybody celebrating first. Yeah, we're going home.
I didn't go home for like a full year, so even like mentally for you, I have a big family. I have 7 other siblings, nephews, nieces. Your mom is always scared for your health, and they don't want you to get COVID or anything, so all those worries come into the picture. It's not easy, but my parents know that they take care of me, that I'm in a good spot, that it just helps them, it helps myself as well, and we're doing that, you know, to achieve my dreams.
Everything shut down and my family came together. I was staying with my sister, with a close family friend in East Lansing, the James family. We stayed with them for the longest period. We just couldn't be together with Grand Rapids and Adrian, so I wasn't fully with my entire family, but you know, I was close with that family in East Lansing, the James family, and so my sister and I stayed there for a little bit.
I was stuck at home, I would say, like, because I wanted to come over in May to have the full preseason here. But at that time the embassy closed, so I wasn't able to get my visa. So I had to wait till mid-August.
I found out when the COVID hit in the US, I had to go back home, and back home the situation was really bad. We were stuck at home without like the permission to live on the street for 3 months. So I had to work out every day in my apartment, and then I was trying to hit soccer balls and try to maintain my fitness in my parking lot.
I think the pandemic was hard for a lot of people, and I guess I'm thankful that you know, to be healthy through it. And it was hard to be away from the game and to be away from what was normal to us.
I think it just made us stronger, and I'm glad I was able to come back in the fall of 2020, you know, and get ready for the spring.
All right, Ferrai Mutatsu, one to watch as this draft goes forward. We talked about Hosseini Buddha's story. Well, Ferrai Mutatsu hasn't seen his parents since 2014. They went back to Zimbabwe. He stayed with his older brother, had an incredible college career, and now he more than likely is going to learn his fate in this first round of the Super Draft. Text coming in from one David Goss, who covered Lucas Bartlett at St. John's, says, yeah, this guy can play, man. He is versatile, he's fast, he's big, but he's got skill on the ball as well. We got 40 seconds here on the clock with Chicago Fire, Devin. We have a new head coach there as well. We've talked about a lot about new managers. Ezra Henderson, this new era, this restart for the Fire, they are really cleaning house right now.
Whole staff, right? Because they also brings over Junior Gonzalez from the Galaxy program. And youth is something that I really look at within these two guys. I have to throw C.J. Brown in, who does a great job and great work there with the defenders. They got rid of 11 in the offseason, really on the top half of their roster. The average age in 2021 was 24. Everybody they got rid of was 30 and over. John Duran from Colombia, a guy that they bring in from Envigado, they're high on him. Just turned 18 years old. So there's a number 9 right there, right? You look at the back line and the depth there. Chihos, they just brought over from Köln, the German. Great player, right? What he can do for that team. I expect a lot of youth, and I expect that to happen quickly, right? You and I were discussing whether or not they would go after a project-type player. I like the fit for that here, but it doesn't have to be, right? Because you've got guys that have a vision. Ezra Henderson and Junior Gonzalez, they understand what it took to get to where they're at. They're not about to turn around and let that opportunity slip through their fingers.
And by the way, there's an opportunity that they're exploring right now as the Chicago Fire have taken a timeout. I teased earlier in the show. Calls are being made. Texts are being sent. WhatsApps are blowing up throughout this process. Teams are trying to figure out a way to get what they want in this Super Draft. Chicago Fire in 2022. What do you want to see, Michael? What would get you excited if you're a Fire fan?
The Chicago Fire are a bit too Jekyll and Hyde in 2021. They didn't have a problem scoring goals at times, but it was defending leads as well. They were too expansive in transition. They got punished time and time again. I'd like to see him shore up the middle of the park.
All right. As we wait for this timeout to run its course and see what the Chicago Fire decide at the number 7 overall pick, let's hear from Susanna Collins. She interviewed Kip Keller, a Generation Adidas signing, and went to Austin at number 5.
Kip, welcome to Austin FC. You look very good in the verde and black. How does it feel to be wearing all of that?
Oh, it feels amazing. It's a dream come true, and I'm just so grateful to be here.
Well, I saw the big celebration with your family when your name was announced. What was their reaction? What was their initial reaction when your name was called?
Yes, they were just so excited for me. I mean, they're the reasons why I'm here, and I'm just so grateful and excited to be here, and I wouldn't be here without them.
Well, you've had so much success at the collegiate level, but what's it going to take for you to find success at the professional level in Major League Soccer?
Yeah, actually, I'm just really excited to get started. I'm ready. I feel like I'm ready to make the jump, and I'm grateful that Austin gave me this opportunity.
Kip, congratulations. Go celebrate with them.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Kip Keller, 2 thumbs up, headed to Austin. They got to like that. The Verde and Black got a new player to celebrate and support. We've seen 5 Generation Adidas players go off the board so far. 3 remain, and of course, a bevy of talented seniors waiting to hear their names called. Chicago on the clock at number 7 just took a timeout, so we'll see what that means for them. Who is the player right now that you're thinking about as you went through your prep, who you're just like, oh man, this guy is still available? How's that possible?
It's got to be Osenia Buda. He is the most talented player. It doesn't matter if no one has picked him yet. He is still, by far, the most talented player, individual talent, on the draft board. And I think it's only a matter of time till someone picks him. But we've seen this before where early in the draft, it's not necessarily who the most talented player is that gets drafted. It's a matter of the need and how he fits into the system.
What fits the system, right? Because there's a couple of new coaches coming in that it's not just going to be about, okay, is this the guy the best one? Is it the best one for us? That's going to be the big question here. I also look outside of the draft for this team and what could be, because not only is it the draft players, you got to remember that for Chicago, they had homegrown Victor Becerra coming out of Indiana. Mm-hmm. That's an attacking player for you. I mentioned the release of the players. Calvo, Kappelhoff, Beric, Stojanovic, Frankowski, gone. All of those guys give you the opportunity to do what? Spend money. This team has never been afraid to throw money around. Maybe haven't necessarily got it right in terms of acquisition for players, but their scouting department is set. Talking to these guys behind the scenes, they know what they want to do. They have a really good idea. But just because the blueprint is there, just like FC Cincinnati, there are some mirror images, right? The international didn't always get it right on the domestic front. Now you have 2 guys on the front line, and Ezra Hendrickson and Junior Gonzalez, that have gotten it right. They've been a part of those winning regimes in Seattle, in LA. They understand what it takes to get it done, and now they're together. That's a scary thing.
All right, we have another timeout. That's how you know something is popping behind the scenes. The New York Red Bulls have taken a timeout. Maybe they see somebody that they like behind the scenes. As we wait for this to shake out, let's learn about one of the most fascinating prospects in this draft from Notre Dame, Mo Omar.
My name is Mohammed Omar, born and raised in Toronto, Canada, and most recently played at the University of Notre Dame. So yeah, I've been playing soccer since about the age of 7 or 8. Grew up here in Toronto, playing for different youth clubs.
Other people at the park or in his teams will always talk about how talented he is and what the things he can do.
And when I saw him, I was amazed how at that age, I think he was around 9 or 10, how skilled he was and how he carried himself so well.
The first time I said, this boy is a professional, for sure.
I went to Berkshire, I left home. My parents and I discussed it, and we thought that it'd be a better fit in terms of balancing both academics and soccer. We took a chance. It was a big leap of faith, but I couldn't be more thankful for the journey I've been on, because I think it's made me who I am.
But of course, it was not easy, because when the opportunity came to go to the U.S. in high school, it's still a place I can go back and forth.
My family was nowhere near, my brothers were nowhere near, my mom, my dad, nobody was nearby. And it was definitely a leap of faith, but I couldn't be more thankful looking back on it.
We always knew that he had a lot of talent coming in, and I think that's why, we wanted him there at Berkshire. And his leadership qualities as well, he uses it in very good ways. So yeah, he impressed us all from a young age.
I know he'll be a good professional player if ever he gets that opportunity.
Like, it's the dream of every parent.
When I see you now, the mall, he can play any team professional.
It meant everything to me for me to get drafted, and I don't know if there's words that I can even put to that feeling. And I just pray to God that I get drafted, and wherever it may be, honestly, I'm just hopeful for it and so excited to take the next step in my career.
As youth coaches said, hey, I know this guy's going to be a pro. That's going to happen for Mo Omar very soon as we wait for things to shake out with these back-to-back timeouts from the Fire and the Red Bulls. Give me an idea real quick of what Mo Omar might bring to a team in Major League Soccer, Devin.
Outside of Celentano, he's one of my most favorite players in this draft. The consistency about him and what he does on the field. He's a 6'8" that has the intangibles to learn on the offensive side of the ball. He scored some goals of his own. On the run to the College Cup, kind of turned around, nice little Cruyff in between his leg, picks it out in the far corner, turns and says, me? because he was willing to do the work, right? There's a great story about him coming into this fall season. This team, Notre Dame, struggled in the spring. He had an ankle injury. They had this kind of meet behind the scenes, no coaches, and he stood in front of everyone, along with Philip Quinton, another guy who could come off the board soon, and said, I'm not doing this, right? We have too much talent. We are too capable of better results than what we are putting out right now. This product has to be better. 9 times out of 10, a player doesn't step up and do that. You can't teach those types of things. So the leadership quality is great. The analogy that I will make for him as a player, if you can start to stoke the fire a little bit more on the offensive side of the ball, think Mark Anthony Kaye. A guy who can sit in a 2 system, a 3 in the midfield. He can float a little bit. He's not going to be an out-and-out creator by any means, but he's a destroyer. In a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3, sits alongside next to someone. They go pick off people left and right, can then turn, spray this ball 30, 40 yards either way, going the other direction, and when you need him to, he can make that extra step forward and get the job done on the offensive side of the ball.
Only question I heard from people is quickness. Everything else is attitude, physicality, technical ability, aerially, absolutely dominant. 6'3", there could be a possibility you could see him change positions. Could he be a center back? Whatever team takes Mo Omar might think about that. I wonder what you think about positional changes, Michael, because as we go through this draft and we see guys like Isaiah Parker or players who are attacking players in college, they might become outside backs. They might go from being a 10 to an 8. What do players have to be ready for as they get drafted and go into a pro environment?
Adaptability. One of the best things that happened to me in college was I played just about every position. My coach, Davidovich, put me through the ringer, every position except goalkeeper. And that was the number one thing that set me up for success, to have a longer career. Because you never know, not just when your name is going to be called in the draft and what the coach is going to ask you to do, but injuries for young players. Opportunities present themselves in the most unlikeliest positions, and you have to be ready when your name is called.
This comes back to the preparation process, though, as well, because it's not just about a player and can he do it? Will he? Right? Because we talk system and is he the right fit for the system? There are plenty of people who don't want to go press and play in Red Bull system, right? They don't want to run around 100 miles an hour and do those types of things. So that's on the clubs, because when you're going to the college showcases, when you're watching these guys on television, you can't really get the character aspect out of it. So that's why when you're going in and asking questions, hey, if we did this, would you want to? And hope that you get the correct answer. Because that's the other thing. These are people too, right? They're getting up and going to a job just like everybody else. We've all been there, right? You've walked into training and go, I don't want to do that. But sometimes you have to push yourself over that line. That line isn't always crossed, though, for good or for bad.
As we sit here and have this conversation and wait for things to shake out for this number 7 overall pick, currently held by the Chicago Fire, I think back to Tajon Buchanan. I think he was number 7 overall. He didn't have a ton of time. He made a transition to outside back, wing back. Now he's a winger. Now he's going to the Champions League. By the way, we have a trade. We are going to New York, to the Red Bulls for this 7th overall pick. Details to come, but let's see who was selected.
With the 7th pick in the 2022 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas, the New York Red Bulls selects Matthew Nosita from the Naval Academy.
New York is clear. Oh, in the dress blues. Here to go, Matthew Nosita. I think back to the legacy here of one Joseph Greenspan out of the Navy. Matthew Nosita following in his footsteps. And I don't know if anybody can tell from the angle here, but Matthew Nosita does not lack for height, Devin.
No, and we asked the question of whether or not guys would want to get the job done. You don't ask Academy personnel if they want to do something, right? They just go and do it, and that's the thing about Matthew Nosita. The height is there for sure, right? The question is going to be a little bit on the speed side of things when I watch him. That's not a bad thing. Speed is something that you can continue to stoke and you can continue to teach, and whether it's regimens or training, you can up guys in that area. But the physical presence is good, excellent vision, and I love his distribution coming off the back line.
I think one thing that we're not talking about, 6'8". Are you kidding me?
Yeah. He makes me look small.
I stood next to this guy, and I went up. We were saying,
I saw the
chest.
picture. The picture was honestly, it was absurd. Like that, he is not going to be intimidated in any aerial challenge. We'll just put it that way.
Absolutely not. For the New York Red Bulls, they're a team that thrive on 2 things: the press, but also trying to play on the ground. One thing that they get punished on quite a bit is set pieces. They need a guy in there, and Nosita provides that to shore up delivery on set pieces and defensive set pieces, but Aaron Long is no longer the only set-piece target. Now you have another set-piece target who can bang in goals in close games.
And by the way, Aaron Long is back. You see him right now in that U.S. men's national team camp preparing for the Octagon. That is a huge thing for this club. Sean Nealis, in my opinion, one of the top 4 or 5 center backs in the entire league last year. And then you have Reyes as well. Edwards gone. You have a 3-man center back. How much opportunity will be there for Nocita? But also, he's going to a club that's known for developing players, for being a little bit patient, for letting them come into their own.
That opportunity is going to be based upon the system as well, because we saw them fluctuate from the 3-back to the 4-back within the year. Gerhard Struber has an idea, and it was up and down in 2021, right? So you're looking for consistency. We understand that. The opportunity is always going to be there. I look at a pick like this and Nocita and say, okay, he's willing to put in the work. It's an academy person. That's the character that we talked about. John Wolyniak, the Red Bull great, who just departed the organization, talked extensively about what it took to come into this organization and actually go and play for them. Because it wasn't just strap on the boots, let's be talented, let's go get it done. Vision's changed a little bit, so I look at the system. What is it? That's going to answer a lot of questions immediately. And maybe they don't answer that question, by the way. Maybe they want to be, hey, we're going to play a 3 here, we're going to play a 4 there, and they're going to give you different looks. You've also added some depth. Remember, they also brought in Dylan Nealis, brother of Sean Nealis, that can help out on the back line, too.
Speaking of questions, we all have one, which is how on earth did the New York Red Bulls get into the 7th pick? Well, we have the details for you right here. It was a little complicated. Those of you around there that love the MLS minutia are going to like this, as I do. They had to trade with Montreal to get the 11th pick. And then the Red Bulls has $100,000 in GAM. And then they sent another $100,000 in GAM to Chicago to swap from 11 to number 7. The end result is Matthew Nocita at number 7 for the New York Red Bulls. They have a history of drafting and developing. San Jose, by the way, now on the clock. Their first pick, number 8 overall. We still have 3 Generation Adidas players left over. But, Michael, what are your thoughts right now on the state of the San Jose Earthquakes? They did not quite sneak into the playoffs this year, but that's kind of been where they're at, right around that playoff line under Matias Almeida.
And I like the fact that you said Almeida's name, because this is a decisive year for Matias Almeida. He's brought heavy metal football to the San Jose Earthquakes organization. High press, man v man marking, something you don't see across MLS. It's chaotic, but it hasn't breeded consistent results. He's more likely to win a game 5-4 than 1-0, but that can cost you, and it's cost them playoff berth implications.
Whoa. For us neutrals, we're okay with that, Michael. I'm good with the chaos. Bring the chaos. And I know Devin's good with one young Grey Goose heading over to San Jose.
No, the goose is loose. I had to say it. Love him under Adrian in Minnesota. Jeremy Bobasi picked up last August from Portland, of course.
By the way, a SuperDraft pick, folks, for traded $1 million.
Rub that in, absolutely. Youngster, Jackson Ewell, Judson still in the middle. That can do a lot of damage there. Eric Rometti, of course, can still help out too. The pressing that you talked about, that was a little bit more waxing and waning as the year gone on. If I looked tactically at what it was breaking down to, they eased off on it a little bit. Chofi Lopez goes back to Chivas. That's another one that we haven't talked about, and then comes back again. It's what is the vision for this year, right? Like I look at it and say, okay, it's the pressing, it's the man marking, it's the running around, and that's hot, and that's topics, and that's the things that everybody wants to be the trigger button for, but that hasn't exactly panned into consistent results. One thing we can all agree upon is that the manager is talented, right? We understand that. They brought him here for a reason. How do you now then take that next step? That's the question that everybody's trying to answer.
And you will do so without one Chris Wondolowski. This seems to be Jeremy Abobasi's team from a goal-scoring perspective. We have a timeout, by the way, folks. I mentioned all those WhatsApp messages flying around. We will see what happens as we wait for the results on that one. A little bit of a recap for you, just in case you're tuning in recently. Matthew Nocita going number 7 to the New York Red Bulls, center back. Before that, Lucas Bartlett, a center back out of St. John's to FC Dallas. And then 5 straight Generation Adidas players off the top. Ben Bender to Charlotte, Roman Salatanos to Cincinnati, Isaiah Parker to Dallas, who traded there from Toronto. Houston got Thor Ulfarsen, one of the best goal scorers in college soccer, out of Duke. And then Kip Keller, a center back, to Austin. We now have the pick. It is in to San Jose. Let's see who they took.
With the 8th pick in the 2022 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas, the San Jose Earthquakes select from Stanford University and Generation Adidas, Usani Buda.
Oh, there's a delay here. Hosseini Buda's about to learn his fate, but he hasn't so far. He is staying in Northern California with the San Jose Earthquakes. From Generation Adidas, from Burkina Faso, Ouagadougou's own Hosseini Buda. Wonderful stuff. This is an interesting pick. They're keeping it close.
When you have a player like Buda who's in your backyard, it's a no-brainer to take him. Yes, they have some talented players already in attack. Chofis Lopez, for one, Jeremy Bobasi now taking up the mantle, but they're adding depth and a player who can come in and impact this team and attack right away. The loss of Wando is the loss of goals. Now you have a player who can chip in with goals from day one.
Where do you see him playing? He's right-footed. We know that.
If you 7-11 up top, 9. Yeah. The versatility is something that you have to be happy about. Right, if you're San Jose, I look at the fact that he's willing to do the work off the ball, not just off the field, off the ball, because sometimes you get these great attacking players, they don't want to track back and defend, right? And we're all looking up in the midfield or on the back line going, guys, a little help here, right? Buda's not that way. You wanted to see him almost cheat a little bit more, Jeremy Gunn said, on the offensive side, so that's something that you can talk about. That's no big deal. He picked up on the interplay, which is a big thing for me. As the system at Stanford evolved. This was a machine when he came in 2019. Remember, 15, 16, 17, they won 3 national titles in a row. By 2019, it was a very traditional 4-4-2 flat that moved into a diamond, and a lot of times he got isolated as one player running at someone. We know that you can be special in that situation. What can you do when you're down in the corner, when there's 5 guys around you? Can you do it in combination play? As his collegiate career has gone on, he's gotten a lot better in that area.
This feels like a guy who can fit into what Mateus Almeida wants to do. So good in the open field, so good 1v1. Get him out, let him run. You've got a Bobasi, you got Espinoza, and you have Cade Cal, then you have Hosseini Buda. That's a really incredible foursome for them to build off of. We'll see what it means for them. I just got to say, I enjoyed, maybe more than any celebration so far, other than the Big Brother piss pump, the jumping clap there in Greenwich, Connecticut, as they celebrated their guy, Hosseini Buda, staying close to his college home with Stanford. He is the number 8 overall pick. And we go out now to Greenwich, Connecticut, and Sealy Godwin, who's standing by with Hosseini Buda.
Thank you, Andrew. Hosseini, you had to wait a little bit. 8, I know that wait felt like forever, but now you're only a 21-minute drive away from where you played university ball. How does this moment feel right now?
It's just a blessing. I'm so happy. I'm now a professional soccer player, and I'm going to be close to Stanford. I've been to so many San Jose Earthquake games. I have teammates that play on there already, and it's a great place to be. I'm very happy.
This moment, I know you've waited since you were 9, 10 years old, where you made this your dream, and then to move to Ghana at age 12 by yourself. You have your sister here with you now. Your mom, though, she was hesitant to send you to the Right to Dream Academy. What would you like to say to her right now?
I'm just happy, and I'm thankful, grateful to her for everything she's done for me, all the sacrifices and everything. I hope to keep making her proud, and very happy to have my sister here with me. Very happy to be here at home with my host family. Who've done so much for me, and just thank you to so many people who've helped me in this journey.
I know you're full of gratitude, but you know that this dream is way bigger than you. What is the next step for you, and why is it so much bigger to be a greater person off the pitch than on it?
Well, it's not easy becoming a professional soccer player, and I know that, and I've seen a lot of people do it from Right to Dream stuff, and I'm very excited, and I know what it means to a lot of kids back home to see someone like me who they relate to become a professional soccer player. So hopefully I can serve as an inspiration and go in and do very well. Yeah.
I know that the dream's not over yet. You always set limitless goals for yourself, but to have this whole crew around you, I want you to fully embrace this moment. Congrats, Hosseini.
Thank you very much.
As they say, it takes a village, and certainly a village has helped him get along from Burkina Faso. His family sending him on an incredible journey for an 11-year-old to Ghana, Michael, and then to Greenwich, to the Millbrook School, and on to Stanford, and now staying close to his college home. What a wonderful story. Hosseini Buda, maybe a difference maker in 2022 for the San Jose Earthquakes. He is absolutely electric in the open field, folks. Inter Miami on the clock at number 9 right now. We'll get their pick in a second, but my gosh, Michael, this is a teardown going down for Chris Henderson. He is saying we have got to change things. We've got to do it fast.
And it's a complete redirect from how they started. We talked earlier about how you build an expansion team. They went heavy on the international flavor from year one, and even year two just doubled down on it. Now there's a redirect. You have someone who came through the system in America, in Chris Henderson, who knows the value of the draft, and look for him to dip into it to build a team.
It's a restart, man.
Pizarro, LGP, Lewis Morgan to Red Bull, the sanctions
Nico
2.3
Figal.
million. Yeah, I mean, everybody's starting to go, right? You start to bring some of that off and free it up, though, with the Morgan move so that you buy that down and find a way to make this serviceable, right? You still have Kieran Gibbs, good left back. Absolutely, more than serviceable, right? He can get the job done. Gregor, awesome in 2021. I thought at least, one of the players that you could look at and you saw the consistency there. This team has also said that they're willing to spend. Now, in certain areas, you're going to have to buy that down and work your way through the sanctions, but they have the belief. The other thing to look about if you're an Inter Miami fan and everything that's gone on, that all happened before Phil Neville walked in the door. So he's kind of he's playing a hand that he wasn't dealt, right? Or excuse me, that was already dealt to him.
Mm-hmm.
That was sitting at the table. He picked it up and kind of went, why am I still here? And why am I raising and check raising when I don't have the ability to even be involved with the chips? So they have an idea, 17 players gone. Now, I don't add well usually, but to me, that's a little bit of an issue.
This is an addition. It's subtraction.
No, subtraction. Yeah. Bingo.
All right, let's go to some addition. The number 9 pick is in. Let's go to South Florida to see what Inter Miami took.
With the 9th pick in the 2022 MLS SuperDraft, presented by Adidas, Inter Miami selects from the University of Washington, Ryan Saylor.
Ryan Saylor, looking sharp. Turtleneck straight out of the Charlie Davies School of Fashion. But it's about domestic center backs. And you know that Chris Henderson knows the talent, knows the staff at Washington. Once again, this is the school where Christian Roldan came from. This is right down the road from the Seattle Sounders. This is the right sort of pick for a team, Michael, trying to rebuild itself and trying to have some domestic talent that can contribute on the back line.
And you're getting a player who just came off of a career-high season, an All-American in University of Washington, national runner-up with his university. And sometimes when you have so many internationals in a league, on a team, you just need good old American grit. And Saylor brings that, and he can still play.
Yeah, by the way, they have 2 center backs, according to my count, on their depth chart. This was absolutely necessary. Do you think that he could impact this team in year one? He might have to.
Yes, and he can actually play a little bit more than people give him credit for, and here's why. He just got picked in that position in the Super Draft at number 9 overall, and he just finished his collegiate career out of position, playing on the left side of the back line. He's incredible. I mean, you move him to the right side, he can play in a 3, he can play in a 4, he's good with his feet. They just didn't need him to be, right? Like, he can play that 5-yard ball and he can play that 40-yard ball, but the way that they attacked with Charlie Ostrom and Kendall Burks and their outside backs, the 2 center backs stayed home a lot. So you didn't ask him that much. Move him to his favorite side, he can ping around a little bit more. The biggest takeaway in my conversation with Jamie Clark and that university about this young man is that he wants to. And you hear that from people sometimes, but this kid wants to work, right? This has all happened very fast for him because it was Tevez, it was Ostrom, it was everybody else around him, and now all of a sudden it's Ryan Saylor. This kid wants to be here and he'll put in the work.
All right, Ryan Saylor, your number 1 overall pick. Let's go back out to Greenwich, Connecticut. Osini Buddha's host parents standing by with Sealy Godwin.
Thank you, guys. I'm here with Susan and Brad Hart. This has been a long journey that you've spent with Osini. Can you talk to me about the first time you met him, though, Brad?
Yeah, I met him at the Right to Dream Academy in Ghana. He was 12. I was over there visiting with a group from our school. We had 2 previous Right to Dream kids, and they're great. And I wanted to go and find out more about it. And I met him, and it seemed reasonable for me to be his advisor when he came to school 2 years later. And he's been with us ever since.
Now, living with him, though, sometimes you have to let him know to clean his room, right?
Yeah, and he's still going to do that tonight. I don't care. We'll be cleaning it for San Jose, though. So, but I just also want to say that Osini's mother has just been an incredible support and inspiration for him. So she's the mom that deserves all the credit. She's great.
I know that he has his little sister here, Zalisa.
Yes.
What has that moment been like, having her back in his life? Because they haven't seen each other in 3 years.
Well, it's just a reminder of the sacrifices he's made and all the Right to Dream kids make to come over here and chase their dream. And all they want is a chance. And he's got one.
In this moment for your family to see this, what does that mean to you, Susan?
Well, for us, it was when Brad went to teach at Millbrook. This was the silver lining of everything for his 10 years at Millbrook, was to meet Useni, for him to come home, for our daughter Caroline to have a sibling, an unlikely sibling, but it's been great. And he's added so much life to our house, as have all of his friends who come to see him often. And we just couldn't be more proud of him and happy for him, and just so pleased that his lifelong dream has come true.
Well, you get to go back to warmer weather again. He'll only be 20 minutes away from Stanford University.
Yeah.
How excited are you to see him take the pitch for the first time as a pro soccer player?
Very. I'm retiring. I'm going to have plenty of time.
That's what we love to hear. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. It's been great being here with you today, too.
I hope you easy criers out there had a tissue handy. I might have had to dab a few away in the middle of that. What an incredible story. What an incredible opportunity for Useni Buddha, who gets to stay close to that college home that he had and was so successful at Stanford. San Jose Earthquakes choosing the Generation Adidas player at 8, and we saw Ryan Saylor go at number 9 to Miami. Colorado Rapids on the clock now. This was not their original pick. They got it from LAFC in that Mark Anthony K trade. But we've seen them build in this way, Devin. This is their style. They're not going to be a team that goes out and drops the $10 million on a designated player. They're going to be very intentional, very methodical, and they're going to understand where the inefficiencies are. And for a lot of clubs, there's inefficiencies in the draft that they can exploit.
Every single time this team steps on the field, they get better because of Robin Fraser, right? And you look at the work that they've done, it's not about one person. No one player is bigger than this organization. It's turned into wealth by balance, spreading the ball, the responsibility. 6 players, at least 4 goals, 18 different goal scorers. So yeah, they're not going to go out on the market and make noise. I actually heard someone say that, I believe it wasn't Doyle, it was someone said that mid-season that maybe they were overperforming. It was someone within MLS who regularly said that, and I was like, are they overperforming? Because when I look at the roster and you go get Mark Anthony K, that says they're here to win, and they're right where they belong. That's what I look at when I see the Colorado Rapids.
It turned out they underperformed a little bit toward the end, and then they got it going, and they were top of the Western Conference, the number 1 seed, come to the playoff. Well, the Nashville you see here on the screen, I'm told there's been a trade that's been made here. That's another hallmark of the Colorado Rapids. Let's go to the pick now. To Nashville we go.
With the 10th pick in the 2022 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas, Nashville SC selects from UCLA, Ahmed Longmire.
UCLA played the 2021 season. Center back here, this is straight out of the Nashville playbook right here. Jack Mayer is a name we've said already. He's starting to work his way into the lineup. Walker Zimmerman is an all-MLS performer, maybe one of the best defenders this league has ever seen out of the Super Draft. They're finding domestic talent that can fit into their system. They just traded Alistair Johnson. Maybe he can be a replacement piece here, Michael.
And he brings speed. When you lose someone like Alistair Johnson, he can get up and down. He's deceptively fast. He can cover a lot of ground. You're going to need to replace a player like that, and this is a good pick for them.
What do you think?
Yeah, Ryan Jordan, his head coach, stated that he's grown significantly to see the passing, the shape, and the rotation of the game. Still has a ways to go there. That's where he's taken his biggest step. He's a transfer from Utah Valley State, and it takes a type of player to go from one school into a school like UCLA. You played at Wake. That's a blue chip team, right? Coming into it, you have to have the mentality that you want to succeed, so you know he's driven. A little bit of a health issue coming down the rest of his career. But what I heard from almost every single scout that I spoke with or college coach that I talked to, that this might be the best center back in the draft. Might be right there is what you have to be careful of because you don't know. But everybody talked about Kip Keller and then Ahmed Longmire. So he's right there with the Generation Adidas player in terms of talent.
Another pick coming for Nashville at 26, another one they acquired via trade. This is what they do. This is what Mike Jacobs does. He's going to go pick a guy that he thinks has a high upside. If you look at their team, at the trades they've made, at the assets they've gained, at the players who play big roles, The Super Draft has been super valuable for them. What have you made of the first couple years of Nashville and MLS, Michael?
They got a lot of stick early on because it was probably deemed a bit too conservative.
Because they were compared to Miami. Yeah, that's why we can all say
it. It wasn't sexy in terms of how they were going on about it. They weren't flashy, if you will, spending the big money. They bided their time. They went for solid players. The picks of the Dax McCarty, that was the one that captured me. And then Walker Zimmerman, a player who came through the MLS draft as well. But now they're building depth at the center back position. When they switched to a 3-back system, that is when their team solidified, and then they put the games on a platter for Hani Mukhtar, who had a breakout season last year.
There you go. Romney, Zimmerman, Mayer, maybe. Now you're going to see Ahmed Longmire. 3 center backs. I think you'll probably see that with those wing backs. That's what we saw last year. Here's the trade right here. Colorado is going to receive $125K in GAM and some conditional, as well as that 26th overall draft pick I mentioned. So this is Nashville's pick so far in the first round. They get it at number 10. They get Ahmed Longmire. Oh, we talked about Inter Miami. We talked about spending. In hindsight, it looks like that Hani Mukhtar spend. Pretty smart. Pretty smart, Devin.
Yeah, look behind it as well, where there are a couple players that are still ready to explode. The transition for international players into MLS is not a kind one, right? It's not easy. Mukhtar, even first year, didn't go great for him, right? It's that sophomore area. Aki Loba, another player coming over from Liga MX, that's another guy that you're getting ready to explode. The best thing about Gary Smith with his players is he makes them like these little Swiss Army knives, right? So if you're an outside back and Alistair Johnson used to playing in a 4, you'll learn how to play in a 3, and you'll thrive in it. But he'll still make you push into those attacking positions if he places you at wingback. They also got Josh Bauer, young kid that was drafted last year in the re-entry draft. They picked up Ethan Zubak, Theo Bunbury. They've done the work. What I also look at, just to tie in Longmire into all of this, it's sexy to be an attacker, right? Everybody wants to score goals. You want to be the number 10. You want to be the guy that everybody looks at. This kid wants to defend. You could make the argument that in terms of defenders and what has gone on systematically within this league, there are few that have done it better than under Gary Smith.
Yeah, and look, he's got some great mentors within that club as well, and Walker Zimmerman, Romney, Mayer as well has been through that. Let's take a look at the top 10 picks as they've happened so far. We've seen some GAs go off the board. In fact, we saw the first 5 players of this draft have that Generation Adidas designation. Number 1 overall, the Charlotte FC. The Maryland central midfielder, Ben Bender. Roman Celentano, many said he was the best goalkeeper in the draft. At number 2, out of Indiana, Isaiah Parker. Perhaps a project, we shall see. Out of St. Louis to FC Dallas. Thor Ulfarsen from Duke to Houston. Kip Keller, going to shore up the back line in Austin. Lucas Bartlett, same thing in Dallas. Matthew Nocita out of Navy. 6'8" to the Red Bulls, who traded into that spot. Osini Buda is San Jose, and Ryan Saylor and Ahmed Longmire. Let's now go to 11. Chicago Fire acquired that pick in a trade earlier. Let's hear who they take.
With the 11th pick in the 2022 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas, Chicago Fire FC select from the University of Washington, Kendall Burks.
Oh, got Kendall Burks on a board. He's not there in person, but man, you got his likeness right there in the room. This is an interesting pick right here, guys. This is a very talented player, defender, center back, perhaps right back. He is not with his teammates in Washington because he's on trial right now in England. There might be some options coming Kendall Burks' way, but for now, Chicago Fire are going to try to convince him with the number 11 pick, you should come to us.
And I like this pick if you're Chicago. Sometimes we saw Chicago play a back 3. I know they have a new manager in Ezra Hendrickson, but because Burks brings that versatility of playing center back or right back, that ups your stock when you come into a team. Versatility as a rookie and a young player is everything, especially in the draft.
He's definitely going to be a center back. I can tell you that right now because that's what all the calls were about. This is actually someone, when you approach Washington and Jamie Clark, this is who everybody was asking about the most. Not Dylan Tevez, not Ryan Saylor, not Charlie Ostrom. That's not a knock on them. That's just what they believe about the talent of this kid. Prototypical size when it comes to a center back, great feet, great speed. So yes, you can play him in a 3 or play him in a 4, but his vision, for me, was spectacular because we talked about Saylor earlier, not asking him to play a lot coming off the back line. You asked a lot out of your outside backs, though, and they sent them both. So when both outside backs are attacking, a la Liverpool, right? It's the left and the right, both going at the same time. Where's the coverage coming from? Where do my recovery runs come from? What space am I supposed to explode into? That's not an easy ask for a kid who's playing out of position in an attacking defender type role, and he's a center back. That gives you an idea.
I just did the math here, guys, and we've got, I believe, 6 out of the first 11 picks are central defenders. What does that say to you, Michael?
It says this draft was defender heavy. And in other drafts, especially in previous years, we've seen attackers. Last year, we saw much more attacking focus the year before that. But this is the changing of the guard, if you will, and what teams are looking for. Teams now, because of the international influx of your attacking players in Major League Soccer being foreign players, now you can shore up your back line with American domestic talent. It doesn't even have to be an American. It can be Canadian as well, as we've seen with some of the earlier picks.
All right, as we wait for the Columbus Crew to make their selection, I'm just wondering, from your perspective, Devin, what generation Adidas player still on the board would you be looking at? You have Eric Centeno, who could be an outside back, maybe a winger out of Pacific. You've got Patrick Schulte, the goalkeeper from St. Louis. There's only 2 left. Sorry, math is not a strong suit. So it's 2 guys still waiting to hear their name called of GAs.
The reason I'm going to say his name isn't a knock on the other. I look at Centeno, and here's why. It's a project player. You know, we've discussed multiple times off air as to what coaches can do with those types of players. How much time are they going to get? With Eric Centeno, you're looking at a guy who, coming through the Sacramento Republic organization, the 7, the 11, the 8, the 10, the 9. And they did that because they had a pretty decent outside back so they could move him forward. At the collegiate level, it was the same exact thing. He goes to college, lights it up. He said nobody expected him to do this except for Eric Centeno, right? So the belief that you have in there, he's interesting to me because when you get a player who's willing to do whatever it takes to go pro, that's scary, right? It's that hunger, that desire, that you're going to pull yourself out of whatever situation you're in, no matter what you're doing in life, where you're at on the field. That's why he's the most interesting to me. And that's not a knock on Patrick Schulte. I just like the versatility of players and looking at a project going, I wonder what this kid could be.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of attacking players get transitioned to outside back. Some successful stories there in Major League Soccer. Let's go to Columbus now for the 12th overall pick.
With the 12th pick in the 2022 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas, the Columbus Crew selects from St. Louis University and Generation Adidas, Patrick Schulte.
Hug it out. Big moment for Patrick Schulte. He is the 3rd St. Louis University Generation Adidas player taken so far. Shh, he says, don't talk about me. I'm off the board. I'm going to Columbus. They've got a history of developing goalkeepers. What do you think about this one, Michael?
I think it's one of the picks that you make as a supporting cast member. I don't see him competing for the #1 starting job, but you never know. Especially when you get drafted, you're getting an opportunity to showcase your talents. If he has a good preseason and bides his time, he could very well find himself between the sticks.
Here's that depth chart right now. Eloy Room, he's your #1. Evan Bush just re-signed. He would be your #2, longtime veteran. And now you have time for Patrick Schulte to do some work professionally to get it figured out. We have one more generation Adidas off the board, 7 gone through 12 picks. Let's keep it general, though, on Columbus. This was not the year, 2021, that they wanted.
Too much injury, right? I mean, there's so much rotation within a well-versed system that obviously saw success the year prior. When you have that much rotation, that's difficult to compensate for. I don't care who you are, right? You look at some of the greatest teams that have come through MLS, whether it's Red Bull or LAFC, right? When guys get hurt and the depth just isn't there, you can only do so much. And now you look at departures. Harrison Offo, gone. Abubakar Keita, gone. Fill those roles, possibly, right? Depth at outside backs, BWP, gone. A lot of players leaving. This team is just fine. This isn't a panic button. There's nothing wrong with Caleb Porter and what goes on in the Columbus Crew. They're a very good team. Yaya Boa was someone that they really just signed from Wisła Krakow coming out of Poland. Apparently a very dynamic player coming out on the wing. I look at Daryl Etienne, Kevin Molino, Zella Ryan. All these guys can still play. You get them healthy, you get them on the field, you get success.
All right. We talked to Matthew Nocita. We saw him earlier at the Naval Academy, learning that he was a selection of the New York Red Bulls after some trades. Well, Susanna Collins caught up with the 6'8" center back earlier to see how he felt after being selected.
Matt Nocita, a 4-year career at the Naval Academy, and now you're going to make the transition to the New York Red Bulls. How excited are you right now?
It's actually, it's so hard to explain. This is an absolute dream come true. And to be able to share with some of my friends and my coaches, this is just amazing.
Now, the New York Red Bulls traded to acquire you. That has to feel pretty good, right?
Yeah, I mean, that caught me by surprise. That is the best compliment I could have gotten today. This is just amazing.
Well, New York Red Bulls are a club that's known for their player development. What are you most looking forward to when you get started with them?
Like you said, developing, making that jump from college to the pros is no small feat. So excited to get in there and show them what I can do and also learn a ton in the process.
Matt Nocita, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Matthew Nocita, big time. The number 7 overall pick in this draft, Red Bulls saying, we want you so much that we're going to trade to move up to get you. In fact, we are going to trade twice to make sure that we get our man. We got DC United on the clock at 13. We just talked about Columbus. You said, Devin, they're going to be fine, and I think I agree with you. The top-end talent there, Caleb Porter's history in this league, Tim Bezpachenko, we know they can build a squad. DC United were right on the edge last year. We got about 30 seconds until this rolls down here. Michael, give me your quick take on what happened in DC under Hernan Losada in year 1.
I thought it took too long for them to get going. They had one bright spot, which was Ola Kamara, who almost won the Golden Boot. And I thought he spent a lot of his goals on Inter Miami, scoring his hat tricks there, but he still had a very good season. Now they need more attacking presence. I think of a kid like Eric Centeno, who could come in and light it up a bit, provide cover, especially at the outside back, wing back roles for DC United, or in one of the 2 attacking midfielder roles.
By the way, Ola Kamara, rumors out there, I should call them reports. Stephen Koff doing his thing, says he is available. DC United has said, you can come make us an offer for this. We'll see who might make an offer on that one. Earlier today, though, Susanna Collins caught up with a man making big moves around MLS. In fact, the biggest move. That's Toronto FC president Bill Manning.
Well, Bill, it has been an active MLS offseason, but nobody has made a bigger splash than Toronto FC with the signing of Italian winger Lorenzo Insigne to a 4-year deal. This is a world-class player in his prime, massive for the club, massive for the league. How did this deal get done?
Look, it was many months in the making. During the summer, we were struggling as a club, and I really just tried to think about, what we can do to reinvigorate our club. And I felt the time was right to really go after a world-class player. Watching the Euros this past summer, obviously saw Lorenzo and his talent level, and came up with a list of a dozen or so players that I thought were world-class that could help this team. We looked at contractual status. Lorenzo and a few others were coming out of contract. I called Andrea D'Amico, who is an old friend of ours. He brought Sebastian Javenko to us, and contact was made, and there was some interest. And an old friend of yours from the league, Lino DiQuello, helped us as well, and had an opportunity to meet his representatives, and then they came here to Toronto. When I met with Bob Bradley, when he came on as head coach, he was very much on board with this type acquisition. And the time was right, Susanna. I think our league is ready for a world-class player, and clearly Lorenzo was ready to come over here and help elevate our league. So it's a win-win in my book.
Well, when he does come to the club this summer, what do you think this TFC team is going to look like with Lorenzo Insigne in a Bob Bradley system?
Yeah, look, I have so much confidence in Bob. We're all really excited for him to get his hands on this team. I do think the team will have a much different complexion than it had a year ago. There'll be other moves into the summer. Look, I think Bob Bradley's teams are exciting. They keep the ball. They play great football. They're going to attack, and Lorenzo is going to be the anchor that we're going to build around.
Arguably the biggest in the league history. David Beckham's raising his hand right now saying, hold on, wait a minute. But on the field, he's going to make a huge difference. And before that, maybe the biggest, Bob Bradley. Devin, this club is changing. They're turning a different page, and they're giving the reins to
Prizo. Oh, that kid by the name of Michael Bradley? Yeah, he could still play a little bit. Let's not forget that and knock what Michael Bradley can do. Omar Gonzalez departs, goes to the Revolution. Maybe a little bit of help on the back line there. But most importantly, you have just gone and...
Yeah,
but
they've
done it before,
they
you're
made
right.
this type of splash before. No, it wasn't a European champion, but it was a player who was on the Italian national team, and it was in the form of Sebastian Giovinco. There was a lot to be made about what type of impact...
In the 2022 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas, the San Jose Earthquakes select from Clemson University, Oscar Agrin.
Gets the monkey off the back for everybody in the ACC and wins the national championship.
All right, here are the terms on the trade right here. DC United picking up $100,000 in GAM. They'll also get the 36th pick in the 2022 Super Draft. San Jose get Cincinnati use a pick. They went goalkeeper, Roman Celentano. Who is the best player left on the board, in your opinion, right now, Michael?
Eric Centennial. He is a skillful player. We've talked about him before. Just versatile, and drafted Calvin Harris last year. Go Dekes, another Wake Forest guy. But you can never have too much depth at those wide positions.
One thing that I thought was a positive for a team that didn't have many on the field, Devin, is Lucho Acosta. There were some questions. Would he come back? What did you see from him?
Legend. Loved him. Loved everything about it. I mean, I wish I could show my scouting right here. It's Acosta still, right? Like, I mean, decent isn't even the word that goes on, right? I look at the back line for a little bit of help. How much does Jeff Cameron have left in the tank? Be done. Again, you have to have the right leadership in place. That's where they've struggled the most, FC Cincinnati, right? And I'm not talking about just the front office, right? Because they've brought in talented individuals, whether it's Stam or players, it doesn't matter. Getting that, just the players, putting everybody together. And the fact that they were able to get everything right off the field is a great thing. Now where do you go on? There's too many talented players right now. Talk about outside back. There's a million of them, right? It could be the boys from Northern Illinois, or I can easily slide someone into that system.
Let me throw a name out there to you and see what you think. Mo Omar. Number 6 right now, a little bit of a question mark for them. We know center back has been a question mark.
Steady.
Mo Omar feels like a guy who could be a value, and they might have had an opportunity. This league, up to 28 teams going forward. I kind of want to rewind us, though, as we wait for this pick, and go back to Toronto FC. And the thing that I wonder, that I think about, and I know that Bob Bradley is thinking and working on 24/7 because I know what his brain is like. What would you want to have in place to get the most out of your star player when he gets there?
They need to be competitive. When you get a player like Insigne, you don't want to have him be so reliant upon that now you need a savior. And I think there's a one, Bob Bradley. If they can get Josie to re-buy in with the potential of Insigne coming in, then you have something. But Toronto, because they're not afraid to make the splash, look for them. I wouldn't be surprised to also go out and get another.
Go to Cincinnati and Jillian Sakovits for the number 14 overall pick.
I am joined again by General Manager Chris Albright. Chris, another pick for you guys in this first round. Take it away.
In the first 14 picks, you saw Thor Ulfarsen right there leaning in. He went to Houston Dynamo.
Multiple times under John Kerr Jr. while at Duke University. We talked about Thor Ulfarsen and what that was like for a striker. That's harder for a defender. You're navigating everything on the field, everything in front of you. And the players in front of him, this team is very young. He can understand a 3-back system. He can understand a 4. He can pretty much do everything that you ask of him.
Some of the goals that Thor Ulfarsen scored came from outlet passes from center backs. I think Ian Murphy in particular. I remember in some of the ACC games, we got to cover those games. And outside back, and he can bring that to FC Cincinnati. Brenner loves to make those runs in particular. He didn't have the service, as Cincinnati didn't have the center midfield to get the ball forward enough to Acosta and Brenner. Now they have a center back who can.
Thanks so much. Let's start with this. What's the emotion? You've been sitting here, you've been waiting. I've seen you antsy. How do you feel right now?
Yeah, no, I was a little nervous at first, but no, I feel great to be able to go out to Cincinnati. I'm really excited. It's what I've been working for since I started playing.
And you've played with a bunch of guys who have already now played pro. Is there anyone you've reached out to? Is there any secrets you've gotten about what's coming up in the next stage?
Yeah, my good friends Issa and Aiden that came.
You got to have that domestic core, particularly at center back. That seems to be where teams see the talent in this particular super draft. Club de Foot Montreal on the clock right now. Picked this one up in that trade earlier today as the Red Bulls moved all the way up to 7. This is
because it was young talent, but it was consistent players. Then you go out and you get Wanyama, right? You bring him into the middle and understand that that world-class type player was going to be there. This isn't a team that's super flashy. Actually felt like at times they struggled with consistency within the squad in general. Kyoto, 16 goals, 8 assists since 2020. That's not a bad little shout in 36 games.
When he's on, he's almost unstoppable. I'm going to give you your opportunity.
As well, Kamal Miller, another player who's promising, who came from the MLS draft as well.
And by the way, they traded for it.
Yep, well, there you go. And so you have two players now who are thriving not just in Major League, his performances down the stretch for Montreal. I think when he was good, that's what kept him in playoff contention. But he came to a league that he's still trying to figure out. I think his fitness level was in question. A good Victor Wanyama this season could...
De la SuperDraft 2022 de la MLS, présenté par Adidas, le CF Montréal sélectionne de Utah Valley University, Josea Quizera.
Of brilliance on the goal-scoring front.
All right, that's the pick right here for Montreal, a pick they traded into. Patrick Schulte earlier caught up with Susanna Collins, the number 12 pick to the Columbus Crew, goalkeeper out of St. Louis.
Friends, family, really close family, friends, just, everyone that supported me on this journey.
Well, you're going to a Columbus Crew team with guys like Eloy Room, Evan Bush. What can you learn from the likes of...
Andiamo, that's all I can think about when I think about the Caps.
9 games winless. You start on the road in Utah and have to basically pull yourself out of a hole, right? That's a character question for a lot of these guys. Shift to a 3-back system, fared pretty well. Tristan Blackman from LAFC, love that pick, big time. I know Pacific does as well. Pedro Vite, Caio Alexander, they're almost like brand new players because they were injured so much last year. So those are guys that are going to come into a system that has the belief, didn't play a lot,
and he single-handedly came in the game and changed it and changed their season. He's a goal-scoring, attacking midfielder, and he lit it up in Portugal, was bought by Sporting Lisbon, brought to Major League Soccer, and some of the same things that Sporting Lisbon saw in him.
System because of the fact that he needs to work off of someone, right? Like, he'll drop down low, he'll play up high, combines really well off of people, intelligent. And Kevin Keller said that he's the most attacking, talented player that is one of the top 5 biggest hotbeds in terms of youth and collegiate soccer in the history of our country. Right? I mean, that team has the most national championships for a reason. And everybody talks UCLA, Duke, no offense, Wake, next step here. He just came in a couple of seasons ago and said, we need to get back to our roots. We need to get back to all of this talent and keep it in-house, because all of those guys and all of that talent that I just talked about, they were doing one of two things. They were signing academy contracts within the
pipeline, because you talk about recruiting and losing recruits to other universities, other conferences. Well, the biggest things that players want is to realize their dream and play professionally. Not every player, but your top players in college soccer. In it.
Oh, man. This is a recruiting pitch right here, I guess, for St. Louis University. You can thank us later. Send your accolades our way. But you have 4 first-round draft picks from St. Louis off the board at Parker to Dallas at 3. Kip Keller to Austin at 5. Patrick Schulte just went off the board to the Columbus Crew at 12, and now at 16, Simon Betcher. You can see there, Akron University still holding it.
With the 17th pick in the 2022 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas, Minnesota United selects from St. John's University, Tani Ulwasi.
The surgery wasn't major that he had to have, but training, running, doing well. He's infectious is the word that kept coming up, whether it was Dr. David Mazer or anybody within the organization, that he was the type of person that was always looking to the next thing.
Claire, backup and first goalkeeper, depending on how Adrian Heath decides to do it. Then you have Dotson, you have Trapp. I mean, this is a team that understands the value in the Super Draft. What do we need more? The
guy that I'm very excited about. We talked about it on Extra Time earlier this week. This was my sleeper pick coming in to the draft. I've covered Tanny for a number of years at St. John's, and when you look at him, you see 6'2", big forward. Okay, a guy who wants to play with his back.
With the 18th pick in the 2022 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas, Orlando City SC selects from Notre Dame forward Jack Lynn.
Goal scorer at the next level.
MLS Next, Saylor Scott Gallagher. Trained there. We just got done talking about that. What do you think he could be for Orlando City? We knew they needed a striker. He may not be the starter.
Level deserves a shot. Jack Lynn has to be at the top of that list.
And what I like about Jack Lynn is he's a big game player.
Yeah.
Another guy who's a big game player that Orlando City picked up, Daryl Dike. He stepped up for the University of Virginia.
And the path he took and the trajectory he put himself on, this might be one of the best stories we've ever had in the Super Draft for Major League Soccer.
Yes, but here's my thing. I say but, and here's why. If you were around him, this would do it. And Daryl Dike, the opportunity, the belief, and everybody around him, you know, the sharing of knowledge, like that all started at the collegiate level a long time ago. It just took everybody a little bit longer at the professional level to figure out.
For you, Daryl, hugging it out, mom, dad, all your friends. You're going to Atlanta. You're going to the A, Eric. You're off the board. Had to be some nervous moments there, I got to think, Michael, for him. He's the last GA product.
Things about Centennial because you're bringing him in, and you talked about the distribution up top, who he's playing balls into. Does that matter if it's coming from a 6'8 type role? By the way, picked up Ozzy Alonso, so you can work off him a little bit if it is in the midfielder type role, right? If it's at all the veterans around it. And who's that guy in the front office, by the way, that played a little bit on the back line? Yeah, Boca Negra. I'm pretty sure he has no problem sitting down, having a cup of tea, talking to Centennial if you wanted to play defense.
I just see Tom Bogert's depth chart in front. And in all the things we do weekly to talk about what's going on in Major League Soccer, if they want to bring in Thiago Almada, which it seems that they are going to do, they are going to have to clear a designated player spot, by my understanding. That would seem to me that while the Sounders are always willing to listen to trade offers as well. Here are the terms of this particular trade. Seattle Sounders receive a 43rd pick in this Super Draft and $75K in. And I think Gerhard Struber sort of got to the place they wanted to be. Let's get to the pick on second thought. Let's go out to the Red Bulls and the choice with the 20th pick.
20th pick in the 2022 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas, New York Red Bulls select from Florida Gulf Coast University, Ovante Mullins.
Centennial, though, that so gifted at the collegiate level, where does he fit into the mix at the professional level? Because you could move him to outside back if you wanted to. Jesse Cormier talked about his route, how this guy was supposed to go to Vermont
and break into the first team. But worry not if you're Mullings. This is the benefit of MLS Next Pro. You get a kid like that who's a workaholic, workhorse in attack, and then you can develop him, keep him in the system, and then bring him in when he's ready.
Which is the best fit for our system. And talking with Jesse Cormier at FGCU, Red Bull was really high on this kid. Just made a move to get him. That tells you that they're willing to do the work for the players that they want. And so for Struber, he liked this kid. Right? If he let him go, which they did, but he was a little bit nervous if he let him go because he wasn't going to come back. So we just talked about Daryl Dike and how clubs across the pond understood what that kid was capable of. Mullings is another one of those guys within this draft that's highly regarded. It wasn't just Red Bull. Chicago was in the mix. Minnesota looked at him. Montreal, Miami. All of these teams saw the talent. Red Bull went and got him.
It'd be crazy right now to not look at Canadian players that come down to the States, play college soccer, develop in that way. We've seen guys like Alistair Johnson, Kamal Miller, others as well, Kyle Laren, to get in and make big-time impacts. I just want to throw it out there. I don't know if we've said this stat so far, but I think 5 of the current 11 starters for Canada, and nobody's sitting here saying that Ovante Mullins is going to be that, but 5 of the current 11 are Super Draft prospects coming out in the TAM era. That's the last 6 years from Kyle Laren on. That's a massive impact on what is one of the most upwardly mobile, let's say, national teams in the world right now. LA Galaxy on the clock at 21. They picked this one up from Nashville earlier this year in that Ethan Zubak trade that sent Zubak to the Music City. He'll stay in the Western Conference, though, of course. Galaxy missed the playoffs, Michael. You're a California guy. That's just not acceptable for that club.
This was something we've never seen before. All 3 California teams missed the playoff, not just the LA Galaxy. The LA Galaxy were so promising early on. They were the talk of the Western Conference. I remember covering them, especially when they played against Austin FC. That was a game where you thought to yourself, wait a second, are the Galaxy for real? But then the injury to Javier Chicharito Hernandez happened, and they lost their way. Sebastian Lletget, gone. Jonathan Dos Santos, gone to reunite with his brother down in Mexico. Now you're building around Vasquez, who is a player. He's getting older, but he's still a player who can contribute. But you need some attacking pieces to fill in the gaps.
It's Cabral, it's Chicharito, it's Gran Sierra. Those seem to be the guys. Ravelison has been very good as well, so we'll see what happens with them. I would look at the back line. Need a little bit more consistency from the Galaxy back there. But look, we talked about Bob Bradley before. You got to trust Greg Vanney's going to figure out how to get this right.
Absolutely. Would also argue, by the way, and I agree with everything that you said, that maybe their biggest loss is Dennis DeClose at a fine yard, right? You know, it goes and becomes their CEO. I would say the silver lining on that, and maybe one thing that, and I'm not saying this, but one thing you kind of heard through the grapevine is who's making those decisions, because when it's DeClose and it's Greg Vanney, it's kind of hard at all points in time to get everybody on the same page, right?
Speaking of the decisions, by the way, there is a decision that has been made. Let's go to the LA Galaxy for this 21st overall pick.
MLS SuperDraft. With the 21st pick and the 2022 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas, the LA Galaxy would like to bring in a couple of special.
By the way, you don't need to hear Jane in Washington Mutatsu to know who. Ferrai Mutatsu out of Michigan State, 21st overall to the LA Galaxy. This is one of the most, we talked about Oseni Buddha. This is an incredible story. Ferrai Mutatsu moving with his parents to the United States. They left 7 years ago, Michael. His older brother has been sort of taking on that parent role as his parents went back for jobs in Zimbabwe. And now it's a family affair. His parents breaking the news. He just had to see their faces. He didn't need to hear what they had to say.
This is what the MLS SuperDraft is all about. You're not just playing for yourself. It's not just an opportunity, life-changing moment for you as the player. It's also a life-changing moment for your entire family. Sacrifices were made long ago, and now they're coming to fruition. And for Mutatsu as a player, when I saw him at the Combine, I thought he was one of the more standout players. He's versatile, but I think his best position is going to be as a winger.
What do you think?
I'm right there with him, whether it's winger or outside back, and here's why. DeJuan Jones gives him credibility. We talked about that coming into this draft, and it was someone I wanted to mention off the top. It went a different route. Michigan State attacker who scores goals, speed, height, electric. I watched this kid earlier on this season when they played Notre Dame, and shout out to my guy Chad Riley and that defensive unit, which is one of the best in the business. They were getting smoked, Michigan State was. Single-handedly, Ferrai Mutatsu turned around, hat trick within about 40 minutes. They won 4-3. Kid can score goals, and to be fair to him, I actually felt it was more difficult for him this season because he was the guy and the only guy. That team could defend. They had semi-decent goalkeeping, really good midfielders. But what Michigan State didn't have was a lot of attacking prowess on the outside, and they had no depth whatsoever at the 9. So it was always going to be Ferrai Mutatsu. And shocking, Ferrai Mutatsu was always the guy putting it in the back of the net.
Oh, Ferrai Mutatsu, a wonderful moment with his parents. We are fortunate to be able to talk to Jane in Washington Mutatsu from Zimbabwe. Jane, tell me, I see the smile. How happy are you? What does this mean to you and your family?
It means a lot. Ferrai, we are so proud of you. Let me just say in my language,
oh, what a moment for Ferrai. Washington, tell me what you felt when you made this selection. You guys get the honor of telling your son what his professional destination in Major League Soccer is going to be. I can't imagine as a father myself what that would feel like.
Yeah, we are very, very excited. And I want to thank Rick and Kira James. They are really the parents for Ferrai. Once we are here in Zimbabwe, they did a good job in putting Ferrai stuff, and they ensured that he was attending all the other soccer games and making sure that he was fed. But for Ferrai, I'm proud because he has been working very hard. It's been long time. All those games he used to go to, even as a family, we used to play soccer a lot. But I'm hoping he's going to continue working hard and be a star at LA Galaxy, which is a big club. My university, the Michigan State University, where I did my PhD and where I also did this degree, it's quite a good home for soccer. And the coach his coach and teammates.
He is going to the LA Galaxy with the 21st overall pick. Congratulations, Ferrai, and big thanks to Jane in Washington for joining us here. That is, I got to say, one of the best moments in SuperDraft history for me personally to select.
With the 22nd pick.
Got the smarts to have the cover as well. So if he pushes himself into a bad spot, that normally doesn't happen. He played at left center back a little bit in a 3-back style system this year. That probably did him a disservice, to be honest, because if he gets him on his right foot, similar to Ryan Saylor, as well at the professional level.
What I like about him the most is he reads the game very well. He's got servant leadership in his blood. Him and Koa Santos, they have such a budding relationship, and it's proven in their relationship with their family. Center backs who can play. Sporting Kansas City, they throw so many numbers forward with the 2 outside backs. You have to have the composure, regardless of if you're a young center back. And we've seen this before from SKC. A one Matt Beasler. Isai Easley reminds me very much of that. Reads the game, very cerebral, and can play out of the back.
All right, we're talking draft picks here. Congratulations to Isai Easley. What a wonderful moment for him. It's always great to see the reactions as they find out the news. But you should have seen my reaction this morning. Sporting Kansas City in 2022. This was the crown jewel. This was it was the golden goose. They went out and spent the big bucks, Devin, to get Alan Pulido to elevate them as a club to win championships, to get back to where they having to clean up that knee injury that plagued him so much last year for Sporting in Mexico. I mean, just your reactions to this news, the magnitude of this for a Western Conference contender.
They can't buy a vowel with him, right? I mean, he comes in and still trying to not break through, but be one of the guys, if not the top guy in the Mexican national team, injury after injury. And it's 3 games here, it's 4 games there. The lack of consistency for him to appear, not knocking his performances, but when you're injured that often and you're in and out of a system, 9s need that. I mean, you're basically looking at a 9 and a goalkeeper that you can't rattle that confidence. And now all of a sudden, they finally feel like he's back on top and that he's going to be the guy and he's going to be healthy. And then this happens. Can you recover? I don't know if you can, especially with the pieces that they've lost already. And, Busio gone to mid-end of the season last year. That's a very difficult ask. I'm not saying, obviously, that Busio was the 9 and all the replacing, but look at everybody else around him. Zusi hasn't re-signed yet. Roger Espinosa hasn't re-signed yet, right? Elise Sanchez, gone. Louis Martin, gone. Amadou Dia, gone. A lot of players gone. Now you lose your 9. Rally the troops. You got to keep everybody's spirits up.
You know what else is gone? Our time here, because the Colorado Rapids have their pick in at 23. Let's go out to Commerce City and see who they take.
With the 23rd pick in the 2022 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas, the Colorado Rapids select from the University of Notre Dame, midfielder Mohammed Omar.
From the Colorado Rapids, you see Mo Omar getting the hugs, his mom, his youth coaches, his family experiencing this moment with him. And I want to say that one Devin Kerr made a Mark Anthony K reference earlier in the show. You are grinning out of your 3-piece suit right now, my man.
It's a mix and match, but I'm with you on that. This guy can play, man. Again, we talked a little bit about him earlier, that it's the 6, it's the 8. He knows how to stretch the game. He can win balls in the air. Destroyer, right? And when you look at his frame, he looks long, he looks lanky a little bit, but he runs right through you. That's something that always threw me for a curve, and I called 6 of his games this year. I don't know if I called 6 games for any side of Notre Dame, so I saw a lot of them. I also look at this pick within Robin Fraser and the Colorado Rapids. Cole Bassett, Kellen Acosta. They just brought in Brian Acosta as well. You bring in Mo Omar. Now, there are some question marks. Those are young rising stars around him in a system that, as we said before, this isn't about one guy. Notre Dame was not about one guy under Chad Riley. Mo Omar can be the guy, but he's going to walk into a dressing room that's going to be very well.
Planning a little bit in Colorado. You saw Max Alves come in. Cole Bassett, TBD. Could he be on the move? Could a guy like Austin Trusty be on the move? But you know that in Robin Fraser, he sees a player that he can mold. At that defensive midfielder position where he thrived at Notre Dame, perhaps at center back later on. This seems just like a very easy fit for the Rapids and Mo Omar.
I remember a conversation I had with Robin Fraser go my college career, and he believed that I could use, what's that word, develop my game playing under a coach like him. And he's shown that. The Colorado Rapids, they had a historic year because of Robin Fraser, who, if Bruce Arena didn't play, those two center midfielders in that 3-4-3 system are pivotal. Jack Price, one of the most underrated center midfielders in the league. He is the leader of that team. But with the likes of a Mark Anthony Kaye, who you referred to,
The veterans that we just talked about and the talent that they're bringing in for the MLS Next Pro platform right now, because not only is it a Mo Omar coming in, they drafted Philip Mayaka last year.
I was just going to say.
Okay, so I looked right at you and I said, Maya. Philip Mayaka now repping platform standpoint, where they've got all these trades, they've got guys that are bought in, and hey, if we need to get you more experience, this is what we're talking about.
By the way, Mo Omar's been in MLS system. He was with Toronto FC before he came down and went to school down here. All right, 24th pick is it. 4th pick.
With this, the New England Revolution select from Loyola Marymount, goalkeeper Jacob Jackson.
Wow.
Oh.
Jacob Jackson, connections there. That's going to get more important as the years roll on. MLS Next can be a big part. So is MLS Next Pro. And guess what? The Revs did a while back. Well, they signed him. They didn't draft him. But Matt Turner was a draft-eligible player. Could his future be?
I think it's a wise move, especially with Matt Turner getting more and more embedded in the U.S. national team fold. This is a big year for Turner, not just with MLS play in the New England Revolution, but teams from abroad will start looking at him. To go to a World Cup, you garner the attention from abroad. Bruce Arena will want to have a plan B if Matt Turner gets sold.
Ed Edwards Jr., Knighton behind him right now, another guy in the depth chart here, maybe MLS Next. We've seen them put a lot of resources into John Bell. Came through that League One system for them, came up, started about 9 games last year. Where do the Revs go this year? And what's going to happen if they lose Adam Buchanan? There are rumors right now that about $9.5 million bid is going to be put in from him for Serie B. What do you think about their future in 22, Devin?
The team's got talent. That's not an issue, right? For me coming in, the question was always going to be depth for them, right? I mean, my notes in bright red, depth the talk here. And, of course, replacing Tajon Buchanan.
Oh, yeah.
Can you replace him? Probably not. They might have to recreate in the aggregate Moneyball style and bring him in. But the pick is good. It gives you the depth because CONCACAF Champions League, MLS, Leagues Cup, Open Cup, and they're not kind of the hidden secret anymore, right? Not that the great man that is Bruce Arena ever was. Let's be very clear here. But I would be hard-fetched to go back to the beginning of the season and look at everyone who said they were going to be the best ever in terms of points for Supporter Shield within MLS. Like, you saw the talent, but almost every single time that a team has gone and set that mark, what happens? Immediately, everybody looks to knock you off your perch, right? We saw it with Toronto. We saw it with LAFC, Red Bull. Their next seasons haven't always fared very well. So I just look for depth there because of all the competition.
To be fair, it's hard to match what they did last year. Almost impossible. Sebastian Lletget, a big signing for them as well. You enjoyed, I enjoyed, we all enjoyed seeing Ferrai Mutatsu hear from his parents. Let's hear from
Ferrai. I was so emotional watching your parents deliver the news that your professional career would be starting out with the LA Galaxy. So I can only imagine what was going through your head when through that moment. What was going through your head?
I'm just there's a lot of emotion. I'm so grateful and feel extremely blessed to be given this opportunity. Call and announce that call. Honestly, I couldn't have imagined it to be any better. It's a dream come true, and I just want to first and foremost give all glory and honor to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I wouldn't be here without him. So
Sacrifice so much, and then today to have this incredible payoff. Can you kind of describe how your journey has shaped you as a player, but also just as a person?
Richters and so forth, and to Michigan State, it's crazy just to be here, and I'm really grateful that I get to share this moment with my family and my friends. It's definitely a moment I remember forever.
I know RSL just moved us off, got $50K in GAM, but they had a massive week. They have a new ownership group. David Blitzer, the lead of that ownership group, and they have Ryan Smith coming in as well, who Jazz owner. He knows the state, he knows the city, he loves all of it. To Columbus for this draft pick, number 25 of the MLS SuperDraft.
with the Twinton.
More Fighting Irish off the board. Philip Quinton, Devin. What are they getting?
The boy who was part of that meeting that I mentioned earlier on, Mo Omar, the guys that took the reins from Notre Dame in the spring and talked about being some game changers because they had so much talent. Good distribution coming off the back line. Great height. Really, really good feet is something that I took away from Philip Quinton, especially in small places. The way that they like to play, it was a lot of intricate little balls coming off the back line or hitting that 40, 50-yard ball up over the top to let Jack Lynn or Daniel Russo chase, right? So he understands both of what needs to come out off of that back line. He also had to do a lot of covering, right? And Patty Burns at the left back spot attacked a lot. We saw the same thing from Jacobello at the right back spot. I mentioned this about Oscar Agren from Clemson coming before. It's one thing to be a center back within a system that understands the pieces around him. It's another that understands all of rotation, all of the space that's open, you know, and then being able to capitalize on that because you do have to step into it, right? I mean, eventually, it's not going to be a guy on your right, a guy on your left, and you're protected. Philip Quinton is the type of person that has that cerebral IQ to recognize the space around him and either step or not step into it and ask for support.
You see the Rapids on the clock right now. They picked this one up in that trade with Nashville earlier. They just had a home run, it seems like, Mo Omar. Let's go back to the Rapids and try to put some expectations on this season. What they did was absolutely incredible. Finishing first in the Western Conference, the team of Seattle had, the season Sporting Kansas City was having. How do you build on that? What's next for Porig Smith and for Robin Fraser and for this group?
You build on it by continuing to keep this young core motivated, highly motivated. There's going to be a couple distractions and good distractions with U.S. national team call-ups, Canadian national team call-ups. Mark Anthony Kaye won't be as available at the start of the season. You have to be competitive, but this is where depth comes into play. You have to look to places like the draft. Their benefit have a very good academy system. So who's going to be the next Cole Bassett and the likes? They lost their left back to the summer transfer window as well. So this is a very unique year for the Rapids because they're no longer the team.
Let's get to our pick. Colorado's making the 26th pick in just a second. Get back here, says his twin. That's Nick pulling Anthony back. Northern Illinois, two twins learning their professional fates. Pull the hat on him. The defender goes first. Is that a surprise?
So much so that his coach, Ryan Swan, listen, I need you to dial it back a little bit. Actually, going into their Akron series with them earlier this season, he had scored or gotten points in 5 games running, and it didn't end well for him. He was upset, and he said,
being sold to Belgium. You have Estevez in. You had Betashore, who's stuck around, who can be somebody who mentor. They have a 3-man back line at times, so he can play center back. That would be good as well. But Colorado with 2 big picks in the last 4, Mo Omar and
Winbank, and get the other brother. But I just think it's so unique how they support each other. You see when one brother gets picked, the other brother is just ecstatic, feeling as if he got selected as well. And
Ryan Swan takes the program over, and he comes in. That team was coming off a 3-11-1 season. And you're telling me you got to go recruit players that are going to take your program to a top 15 ranking that are going to change the entire dynamics, change 9-10, play him anywhere that you want. He works. Also another gym rat. You get 2 players that were willing to put a program on its back. That's got to say something to GMs and head coaches out there right there, that you've got a center back that already just went, and now his twin brother carries.
With the number 27 pick in the 2022 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas, Portland Timbers select from Grand Canyon University, Justin Rasmussen.
Score goals, but he's multifaceted. He's got a cultured left foot. When he gets into the final third, he can look to pick out that far post. Also, he can find teammates with the unexpected pass. He's got good vision. And one thing in particular,
Devin, Schulte Hyndman was there. He's no longer there, but they still have MLS connections. I mean, tell the people at home that don't quite understand what's going on at Grand Canyon. What's up?
Well, it's littered with talent, first of all, not just within this draft, but around this country. You know, there's professional players all over, and I'm talking about in Clemson. They got to compete. Marshall showed us that last year, right? They showed us that they were capable of winning the national championship. Chris Grassi did a great job there and continues to do so. He goes a different route. He goes the international route. the landscape at college soccer is the reason why, for me, college soccer is getting that much more interesting and why this draft matters, because you're not just looking at the blue bloods. It's kids from all over the nation that have the ability to compete at the highest level in this country.
You've got to find a way to come.
You know where that is, the Colorado Rapids. How do you feel?
Yeah, first and foremost, all glory to God. Wouldn't be here without him. I just want to say thank you to my family and friends for all their support over the
We saw you sitting there with your former coach. What is the biggest piece of advice that he gave you heading into today?
Yeah, both of them just always telling me what they preach. Just be calm and with family and friends.
Well, Michael Lahoud, who's sitting at the desk right now, compared you to Mark Anthony Kaye, and I just want to get your reaction. Do you think that's a good assessment, a fair comparison?
Yeah, I mean, MLS, it's an honor, and I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to be in Colorado with him, be teammates with him, and really just learn from him and learn from all my teammates there, and be in such a wonderful environment. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Could be a lot worse for Mo Omar, going to the top team in the Western Conference on regular season record at least. Going to be able to play under Mark Anthony Kaye, an international midfielder from where he hails, from the club that he hails, by the way. A special career, a special kid, a special moment for Mo Omar. Congratulations to him and the Colorado Rapids. We are on our final pick of the first round. Boy, it went faster than I thought it would. Normally, this is .com. All the results as they come in, including all the first round. The draft tracker, full coverage there as well as we start to build up, because preseason starts this weekend. There is a trade allocation in the 34th pick to get the 28th pick. Of course, Dallas had the 3rd overall pick. They picked up Isaiah Parker. They had the 6th pick, Lucas Bartlett, a center back out of St. John's, and now they will have this.
With the 28th pick in the 2022 MLS SuperDraft presented by doubling.
All right, at Oregon State, a winger for FC Dallas. Must have liked him. They moved up to get him. That's the final pick of the first round of the SuperDraft 2020 season, and sending Ricardo Pepi away. All right, let's take a look through all the picks here. As we go through, we had all 8 generation Adidas players go off the board. Top pick of this draft, Isaiah Parker, 3rd, all GA players. In fact, the first 5 were GA players. What's the pick you like the most here, Michael?
I have to go with Thor Ulfarsen. Although I played as a defensive midfielder, they did the right thing to draft a player who could come in, and whether it's coming off the bench or get some starts here and there, who can bang in goals in a variety of ways. A part of his game that I was surprised to see is he can also score goals with his head. And he's here.
You saw Eric Centeno, the last of our GAs, go off. And 8 of the first 14 were center backs, which we've talked about earlier on that first 11. What do you like here?
A big fan of Quizera, actually. Jamie Clark reached out to me, before the draft, talking about, what players look like in the Pacific Northwest and coming out of the Utah Valley State. By the way, Ahmed Longmire's running mate, who got drafted to Gary Smith at Nashville at number 10 overall. Georgia Quizera said he was one of the most difficult players to match up against. The speed, chasing down into the channel. I like that pick a lot, as I did Ahmed Longmire. I think that is probably, if I had to pick one, the best one in its entirety that has taken over this draft and gone, that kid can play and he's in a great spot for it.
Nashville trading up to get Ahmed Longmire. Here you see the final picks of the draft. We had that incredible moment with Ferrai Mutatsu. Can't help but root for him with the LA Galaxy. The first round of the MLS SuperDraft 2022 is in the books. All 28 picks in. As I said, go to MLSsoccer.com to check out that full draft tracker and all the other coverage from the SuperDraft and into preseason. We talked about Hawaii in the pre-show. Susanna Collins caught up with Isai Easley, who hails from Hawaii and is now on his way to Kansas City.
Well, Isai, congratulations. Your professional soccer career is going to start with Sporting Kansas City. How are you feeling right now?
Oh, I feel great. There's not much words to be said. It was getting a little nervy at the end, but I'm just blessed with the opportunity, honestly.
How do you manage those nerves when you're sitting there and you're with your family and there's so much anticipation just waiting to hear your name being called? What was going through your head in those moments?
Honestly, I was nervous, but I knew that everything was supposed to work the way it was supposed to work. So I was just trusting in the process and letting everything take care of itself. So yeah.
Well, you hail from the beautiful state of Hawaii, and here you are helping to put them in the conversation with one of the new hotbeds of soccer in North America. How proud are you of that?
I'm so proud. I mean, Hawaii is not known for their soccer, but there's some special talents coming out, and it's cool to be able to be one of the guys drafted this year. So I'm proud.
You should be. Asai, congratulations.
Thank you.
Sporting Kansas City looks good on you, Eastside, as every club does for all 28 of those drafted. There are more to come, a dream to be realized. Second and third round, you can follow at MLSsoccer.com via the draft hacker as those picks come in. Big thoughts. Let's take it wide. One thought on this day, on what matters most, on what you saw, what you think will matter. Michael, let's start with you.
It's going back to a point that I made earlier in the show that when you get to the MLS SuperDraft, you're no longer seeing teams taking the most talented player first. You saw that was Osenia Buddha, who I still think is the most talented player in terms of individual talent, natural talent in this draft, being a lower draft pick than expected going to San Jose. But it matters more what type of player fits into a system. The first two teams talked about that word time and time again, and I think the intentionality of depth and how do you load up depending on injuries. And also, this is a World Cup year, and you're going to need depth in so many different positions.
The talk coming into this draft was about the depth at the goalkeeping position, and we saw that, right? And it was talking, position players, guys that were projects and stuff like that. This draft reaffirmed for me as a father that it's still cool to defend, right? I'm sorry,
center backs,
former center back. It's
Lord.
Cool to defend, right? These guys, you don't have to be that flashy player that breaks into the final third. You don't have to be the cool kid on campus that scores 15 goals, to have a little fun and to be around all the time. That your Philip Quintons, your Oscar Ogrens, your Longmires, that all these coaches within MLS, they don't just value the defensive spots. That they took a good, hard look at this class and recognized the quality is there, and it's all over the nation. And we saw pick one after another coming off the board at the defending spot. I'm happy about it.
Center backs dominating the first 14 picks of this Super Draft. The first 5 selections from Generation Adidas, all 8 GA players went off the board. There are second and third rounds to come. There are more dreams to be realized. MLSsoccer.com and the draft tracker there are your best bet to follow along. Good luck to all the players drafted here in this first round and all the players that will make their way on MLS rosters and MLS Next rosters for the 2022 season, which is not that many days away, guys. It's a month and a half. Saturday, February 26th. Here you see the lineup we will be building up at MLSsoccer.com. Extra Time will have your full team previews all the way through opening day, as well as our prediction show. So if you have thoughts, questions, comments, hit us up at Extra Time on Twitter. What's the game that you like the most as you see them kind of cycle along? What's the team you're most excited for, Devin?
Oh, man, how can people not look at that Portland Revo game? Portland's going to come out and then Valeri's gone. What's the new era? Supporter Shield. That's going to be super fun. Houston Dynamo RSL. People may not think that that's a sexy pick, but with all the turnover, the new ownership, new head coach, new GM, I look at that and go, all right, you want to set the tone? First game, let's go.
All right. What's your team? Who you watching closest?
Q2, who this?
First start.
Whoa, I got time out. Let me just say this, then I'll get to another game. Q2, who this? I'm looking to see what version of Austin FC do we see in 2022. FC Cincinnati, they're in the rebuild mode, new regime, as we said. Austin FC, they need to deliver, especially at home in front of those fans. Now, let's take a wider zoom picture. Seattle Sounders versus Nashville SC. That's another mouth-watering
Both Western Conference teams, by the way. That's a big change for 2022.
Absolutely.
So Nashville moving out west. Final thoughts here before we get out of here. We've sort of wrapped up the draft. We've looked ahead to the season openers, but there are a lot of signings to be made. This is not the end of this.
No.
What spot are you watching around the league and saying, who's going to end up there? What kind of player are they going to get?
I'm a little surprised we didn't see more of those project players we talked about, to be honest. Given the uncertainties within systems around the league, and sometimes GMs and coaches, they want to go easy on themselves and take an easier pick, so they decided to go center back, right? Those project players could end up becoming some of those pieces that we look back in a couple of seasons. We say diamonds in the rough. it's not just diamonds. There's plenty of gems, that are valuable as well. And a lot of those guys coming up. And if you're one of those players at home that A, got drafted today, or B, didn't hear your name yet, that dream hasn't just been realized. There are opportunities to come. It may be a dream realized for some, but it's not a job well done just yet. You got a long way to go here. So it's good. Get right back to work.
All right. What's the spot you're watching?
I'm watching center midfielders. We didn't see that many of them, which is a position in years past. You see a lot of them in the first round go. Because this is a center back heavy class, look for center midfielders to be a position that MLS Next Pro becomes a beneficiary of later in this draft.
MLS Next Pro, one of the big stories of 2022. What role will that league play in development as well? The MLS SuperDraft 2022, emotional moments for 28 players, their families, their teammates, their coaches. This is what they